उसमें देखना हेलो
आ रही है सर मैम
क्या है
Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to check. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. Dr. Jigyasu.
Good afternoon, Dr. Dubey. Good to see you. How are you?
Fine, sir.
Great. I look forward. And good to see everybody else. Thank you very much. So I will switch it on at about 2 o'clock. The camera till then it's okay. Is it?
Yeah, everything is fine, sir.
Yeah. Great. Good to see you. Thanks.
हाँ हाँ बंद कर दो ना अरे ऐसे चल रहा है ना सर माइक किसका मेरा ना
ये थोड़ा संजय ये उधर रख दो इधर वाले टेबल पे रख दो ये सर इधर वाले टेबल पे रख दो कागज उड़ते हैं ना तो फिर डिस्ट्रक्शन या
गुड मॉर्निंग मैम, जिज्ञासु बोल रहा हूँ। मैम आपका कैमरा थोड़ा सा एडजस्ट करना पड़ेगा। हाँ ठीक है, ओके।
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Sani sir, shall we start? Dhar sir, shall we start?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay whenever you all are.
Okay. Okay, sir.
I think we should start now.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, sounds good.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. I, Rupali Bhartiya, welcome you all on behalf of Shri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya to the third National Conclave on Cyber Defense, SAJAG-2020. A conclave where cyber security experts, leaders in cyberspace, exponents in cyber security and technology meet together, share and present their perspective on cyber security. Lighting a lamp before the ceremony spreads divine grace. The lamp also shows everyone who is present how to rise upwards and dispel darkness. With this thought, let us start the event by virtually lighting the lamp in front of Ma Saraswati.
शुभं कुरुतं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुतं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्परब्रह्म दीपज्योतिर्जनार्दनः दीपज्योतिर्परब्रह्म दीपज्योतिर्जनार्दनः दीपो हरतु मे पापम् सन्ध्यादीपनमोऽस्तु ते ओ दीपब्रह्मरूपत्वम् ज्योतिषां प्रभुरव्ययः ओ दीपब्रह्मरूपत्वम् ज्योतिषां प्रभुरव्ययः
Madam, I think you are on mute.
You're on mute. We
First
can't
of all, on behalf of entire Shri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya fraternity, I would like to welcome chief guest of the event, Lieutenant General Arun Kumar Sahni, former General Officer Commanding in Chief, Indian Army, for gracing the event with his presence. Now, I would like to invite Chairperson of SAJAG 2020, Dr. Anand Rajawat, to shed more light on this conclave.
Lieutenant General Arun Kumar Sahni, former General Officer, Commanding in Chief, Indian Army, Sri Santosh Katsare, Scientist, Ministry of Electronics and IT, Sri Bhargav Badla, Information Security Manager at Mercedes Research and Development India, Dr. Vrinda Tokekar, Professor and Head, Department of Information Technology, IIT Devi Ahilya Vishwavidyalaya, Indore, Dr. Upinder Dhar, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, Indore, Dr. Jigyasu Dubey, Convener SAJAG 2020, Mr. Gaurav Srivastav, Coordinator SAJAG 2020, dignitaries from various institutes and industries across the globe, head of the institutes, head of the departments, delegates, press and media, faculty members, and my dear young friends. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome you all in inaugural function of Third National Conclave on Cyber Defense, SAJAG 2020, organized by Sri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya in association with National Cyber Safety and Security Standards. With the internet maturing day by day, threats are increasing and cyber criminals are making news on a daily basis. Every other day, we hear news of cyber criminals hacking into banks, online sites, companies, etc. It is very obvious that something has to be done to secure our IT infrastructure. But how does one do it? How does one start? One answer that comes to mind is education, awareness, and training programs. Thus, it is necessary to inform people what is needed to secure their IT systems. Towards this goal, Sri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, in association with National Cyber Safety and Security Standards, is carrying out extensive awareness programs, training, national conferences, and education campaign so that the public are made aware of the dangers of the internet and how they should be careful and avoid falling into the cyber traps. In addition, Sri Vaishnav Vishwavidyalaya, in cooperation with National Cyber Defense Research Center, has embarked on setting up Security Research Center at Tripoli with the objective of conducting research training hands-on environment for university, industry, and professionals. On the beginning, I would like to introduce SAJAG 2020, the third national Conclave on cyber defense. SAJAG 20 changed the paradigm how we look at digital space and security, critically measuring the impact of cybersecurity on business operations and their security implications. Basically, this conclave explored the boundaries of cybersecurity and also provide the best practices to protect our digital critical infrastructure where the sensitivity of the data plays a vital role. The theme of SAJAG 20 is opportunities and challenges for cybersecurity in the era of Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 is the ongoing transformation of traditional manufacturing and industrial practices combined with latest smart technology. The global development industry is in the center of transformation to meet today's more complex and highly competitive industry demands. The integration of information technology and operational technology bring new challenges, especially in the area of cybersecurity. Industry 4.0 will enable it to use a wide range of technologies, mainly based on artificial intelligence and machine learning, but also coupled with cyber and physical systems. The pillars of system will also collect data in real time, time that is analyzed and stored in the cloud, and will be able to make their own decision in a capacity and apply machine learning algorithm and other advanced technologies. Plenary session in SAJAG 2020 will focus on opportunities and challenges for cybersecurity in the era of Industry 4.0, the latest issue in cyber science, policy, and practices, and will also pursue to share key research findings, lessons learned, best practices, as well as identify gaps in knowledge. Sessions designed to achieve cooperative solutions, defend your from as well as from industry across the country in the city will deliver in the clip. Today we have with us as a keynote speaker Lieutenant General Arun Kumar Sani, former General Officer Commanding in Chief Indian Army. As a speaker, Sri Santosh Katsare, Scientist, Ministry of Electronics and IT. Sri Bhargav Badla, Information Security Manager at Mercedes Research Development India. Dr. Vrinda Tokekar, Professor and Head, Department of Information Technology, IIT Devi Ahilya Vishwavidyalaya Indore as a moderator. Conclave give high priority to the personal safety, IT infrastructure safety, cyber safety, and information security, so that the business continue in the healthy living environment. For cyber risk to be adequately addressed in the age of Industry 4.0, cybersecurity strategies should be secure, vigilant, and resilient, as well as fully integrated into the organizational and information technology strategy from the start. I am delighted to welcome all the speakers and participants from various parts of the globe. With a large number of participation, we are sure that this online national conclave will be a memorable, highly educational, and not to be missed event. We truly value your participation and support for this national conclave. Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now, I would like to invite Vice Chancellor of Sri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, Dr. Upendra Dhar, for the welcome address.
Lieutenant General Arun Kumar ji, Santosh ji, Bhargav ji, Madam Vrinda Tokekar ji, all my colleagues from the university, Anand Rajawat, Jigyasu Dubey, Rupali, and other friends. At the outset, I would like to welcome all the resource persons on this occasion when we are having SAJAG first time on the virtual platform. Though this is the third annual SAJAG, earlier we have done it physically, face to face, in person, and now today, first time we are doing it online. COVID-19 has taught many lessons to all of us. In fact, nature has been always giving us signals to reimagine the reality around us and do things in better way. COVID-19 has come, it will go. In fact, such epidemics and pandemics have been happening in the past also, at least once in 100 years. If we recall, in 1720, there was pandemic of plague all over the world. Then approximately 100 years later, 1820, there was pandemic of cholera across the world. Millions of people died. Only 100 years back, 1918-20, about 2 years, we had pandemic of Spanish flu. And that time, large number was affected across the world. 500 million people were affected across the world. And out of them, 50 million died. So a large number of people died. And now from December 2019, we are experiencing this pandemic due to COVID-19. Human being is perhaps suffering the most because human being has done maximum damage to the environment. Animals and vegetation around us is not suffering from COVID. It is human beings. But what is important here is to learn the lessons. All pandemics which have happened in the past, lessons have been learned. And in COVID-19 also, we need to learn the lessons and look at the positive side of it. We cannot only keep on saying that it is a dark time. So what to do? There is a lot to do, lot to learn. So learning has to take place continuously. When lockdown started from 25th of March in our country, most of the teachers shifted their interaction from classroom to Zoom, that is virtual platform, so that students do not suffer. In the interest of the students, most of the teachers across the country took up the online platform very quickly. So I would, on this platform, like to congratulate all the teachers in the country who were able to make it successfully. Though the challenge has been accessibility in the case of, particularly in the case of those students who live in remote rural areas, because access was not possible or access was difficult. But then to a great extent, we have been able to cope with the situation. Same way in industry also, technology today is being heavily used. Work from home is gradually becoming a norm. Though work from home had already started in West, but it was not very common in our context, in Indian context. But COVID-19 has accelerated the process. Therefore, in India also today, we can see work from home is becoming a common feature as far as the workplace part is concerned. As Anand mentioned, that businesses are being done on the online platform today, say, for example, banking. More use of technology is happening. Use of technology, particularly information technology, had already started. But COVID has forced us, I won't say persuaded, it has forced us to use more of it, use more of technology. See, today we are better off. When 100 years back, Spanish flu happened, that time this kind of technology was not there. With the result, connectivity was an issue. But today, in that sense, we are better off that we are connected. Today we are talking to each other. One person is sitting at Delhi, other person is sitting at Bombay, third person may be sitting elsewhere, and we are getting connected. It is because of the technology. And this technology was not there 100 years back. So in that sense, we are better off. And we are getting connected through technology. But then at the same time, since more of technology is being used, more of information technology is being used, more of online platform is being used, it becomes necessary to ensure security. Security is a very important issue. How to do it? Although measures have already been taken in the past, people had already started thinking about security measures, but then that is not perhaps enough. What many people say, that new normal is emerging. In this new normal, it becomes necessary to see to it that whatever we are doing, whether it is business or academics on the virtual platform, it needs to be secure. When a teacher is interacting with the students, nobody else should enter. in terms of, say, anybody who would disturb the class. No. So it needs to be, we need to ensure that there is a session between the teacher and the taught is secure. Similarly, in the case of businesses, whatever businesses say, maybe business to business, B2B or B2C, that is business to business and business to customer. It needs, wherever it is happening online, it needs to be secure. So security has now become more important. More attention needs to be paid for ensuring the security of the online platforms, for ensuring the security of the virtual platforms, for ensuring the security of the digital platforms. That makes our SAJAG more important now, though we have taken this initiative of organizing SAJAG annually in 2018. And that time also we felt that yes, security is important. And now it has become more important due to COVID. COVID has given us this lesson that use technology, but use it carefully. Use in a secure way. So we need to, all technocrats, particularly, need to ensure that all the platforms that are being used, whether in business or non-business, should be secure. So I'm sure that this webinar will be a very informative initiative, and all our esteemed speakers will be sharing their wisdom with us, and will be richer in our understanding about security measures that are required, particularly in the cyberspace. So with these words, I'm happy to be with you this afternoon, and I wish happy learning to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your words of wisdom. Today, we have with us Lieutenant General Arun Kumar Sahni as our chief guest on this special occasion. I request technical team to start the video presentation to introduce our chief guest.
Lieutenant General Arun Kumar Sahni is a decorated scholar soldier with 40 years of commissioned service in the Indian Army. He was the General Officer Commanding-in-Chief of one of the 6 operational commands of the Indian Army. His experience encompasses command and staff assignments in India's most inhospitable and conflict-affected areas to battle external and internal security challenges. During his 4 decades of service, he has assumed many roles and duties, which include Chief Operations Officer of an infantry brigade in Sri Lanka as part of Indian Peacekeeping Force, Colonel General Staff responsible for operations of a counter-insurgency force in Jammu and Kashmir, Principal Staff Officer at Army Headquarters Delhi, and Director General Information Technology. He has been an instructor at various military institutions within the country to impart basic and specialized training, not only to own officers but also those from friendly foreign countries. He has a record of being a high achiever throughout his career, starting with the Sword of Honor and President's Gold Medal on commissioning to the Army in 1976. Among several awards for his exceptional leadership skills and courage, he has been decorated with the 2nd highest medal for peacetime gallantry, Uttam Yuddha Seva Medal, by the President of India. He was conferred the coveted Param Vishisht Seva Medal by the President of India for sustained meritorious service. Lieutenant General Sahni has represented India as a military delegate at UN headquarters at Geneva for the international conference debating banning of landmines. He has trained with the British Army for a year and represented the country as a military diplomat for 3 years at Embassy of India, Moscow, Russia. Presently, he is mentoring startups or new initiatives that are in the domain of information security and HR management. He is also an active speaker at seminars and various think tanks within the country with a specific reference to national security issues, external and international and regional dynamics impacting India, issues related to cyber, force multipliers and surveillance, nuance of counter-terrorist operations in the Northeast and Jammu and Kashmir, dynamics of integration of northeastern states, strategic and visionary leadership skills and nuance and impact of tactical nuclear weapons on South Asia deterrence dynamics.
Now, I would like to invite Lieutenant General Arun Kumar Sahni, sir, for the keynote address.
Good afternoon to everyone. Firstly, I must thank the person who introduced me. I think she was extremely laudatory. I didn't realize that this was required to be said here. Otherwise, it's a little embarrassing to be told all these things. But thank you very much, kind of you. But more importantly, may I first start by thanking the Vice Chancellor, Dr. Upinder Dhar, for having given me the opportunity to come and speak here and be part of this webinar. To Mr. Anand Rajawat, who's of course the chairperson of SAJAG, Dr. Dubey, whom I've known now for some time, and I think he manages to catch me, though I think my skills in technical skills are as good as a large number of the senior faculty, for the fact who are not from technology, because I'm also biologically on the other side of the graph, where technology came to us much later, not in our initial years of growth, which of course today when I see my grandkids, I'm shocked at the capability that they have and the adaptness to be able to move from one dimension to the other. We have acquired it, they are inheriting it, or it's part of their habit forming, literally I would say part of their character building. And so I know I'm speaking to a very, very august gathering here. Along with it, of course, it's great to see Santosh here, who actually got me sucked into this Council of Information Security when they set it up initially. And he's himself a remarkable guy in forensics, taken out. I think in his main job of awareness, been doing a great job. And I think Mr. Badla is the other speaker. Good to see him. And I would also, a very warm welcome to all the academia, the senior instructional staff, who I'm sure would know more about the subject than I would know about it. But more importantly, I think to the young leaders whom we're getting a chance to speak to, I think the future of this nation is in safe hands. The demographic dividend is ours. And when you engage with the demographic dividend, I think it gives you a great sense of elation, confidence that the country is moving in the right direction. So I look at it as an opportunity to be able to share and be able to put across things which I always found very difficult to understand in a manner which is very simplistic. So what I will try and do today in the next about 20-25 minutes is to quickly go over and try and see how do I look at this industry 4.0, then look at what are the challenges, give some pointers for it. And of course, I leave it to the experts who will tell us the technological mandarins who decide how it works, how it's done, where to interface. So that'll be a great advantage. But what I must say that I've been involved with certain amount of discussions which have happened for internet governance. And I think that as it's a young generation here, I think our involvement in the IETFs and the various forums, technological forums where standards are being set, standards are being made, is an area where the younger generation should really concentrate on. Identify your core competencies, look at developing it. And today there are, thanks to the Prime Minister's initiative on this Atmanirbhar Bharat, there is tremendous amount of opportunities for all of you to get support from governmental organizations to pursue your dream and get into where you are really not just a user and a person who's part of the team, but is actually a front runner and a leader in this space. So let me get on to the subject and try and put this whole thing in context of the subject today, that is opportunities and challenges for cybersecurity in an era of Industry 4.0. I think the transition, really speaking, from Industrial 3.0 or 3.0 to Industry 4.0 has actually been very, very, it's not really been a clean-cut division as it happened, say, in the first and the second industrial revolution. But I think here it's been, one has mutated into the other, and technological advancements have ensured that things happen and change, and we reach a particular point where we say now we are part of Industry 4.0. And I think it was that book in 2016 by this gentleman called Klaus Schwab, who used to be the executive chairman of the World Economic Forum, who took out the book. And then there was this book on smart factories. And I think these two books, in a manner, laid out some of the contours of what we talk about as far as Industry 4.0 is concerned. Who started it? As we said, we really don't know when the 3.0 finished it, but sometime around 2010, 2011, and that's where the transition and this word of 4.0 came into being. And I think one of the best quotes that I saw, or something which I read in one of the books, in a manner captures what the whole story is. And I think I'll just read that out. It's a staggering confluence of emerging technology breakthroughs covering wide-ranging fields such as artificial intelligence, robotics, and Internet of Things, autonomous vehicle, 3D printing, nanotechnology, biotechnology, material science, energy storage, and quantum computing and quantum communications, which is the next stage that you're going into. I think this whole amalgamation of changing technologies is what is making the difference as far as you and I are concerned, in seeing a changing lifestyle, a changing way of life as far as you and I are concerned. And I think the VC very correctly highlighted that today, the speaking on webinar or getting this digital closeness as the new term that needs to come in, because our social interactions have reduced. So this digital closeness is the means by which is a reflection of what has been achieved in the space of technology in a short period of the last about 2.5 decades. And if I look at Industry 4.0, what are the things, if I have to look at it? Automation, IoT, and data analytics. These have just made the processes smarter, intelligent, and more productive. And I think latest technologies like cloud computing, IoT, robotics, and has started disrupting the natural processes that existed. And this transitional shift to digitization and automation is where I think this whole story of I 4.0 is really hinged upon. It's an ongoing transformation, and it covers everything in our battle space today, I would say, or our lifestyle space. Whether it's smart manufacturing, smart homes, smart cities, transportation, warehousing, healthcare, retail, logistics, environmental monitoring, smart finance, and insurance. So I think, what is it that isn't covered by it? I think every facet of our life today is dominated, if not getting more and more intricately intertwined because of the digital space. And what has this I 4.0 has done? I think if I have to capture it in simple terms, there are a few sentences which I would like to sort of just highlight what it is. It's focused on creating a smart environment in the process, manufacturing processes in any space of work and lifestyle that you see. The essence of Industry 4.0 is the Internet of Things and the Internet of Services. Computers and automations have come together, and with the help of the CPS, which they talked about by the inaugural speaker, this cyber physical systems, that integrated this whole communications, IT, data, and physical elements to transform things into what we're talking about, smart places, smart factories. And this manufacturing process in the smart factories is driven by precision-driven manufacturing. And this is achieved how? With collecting of large data points from the assembly line and through sensors which talk to each other, what we term as machine learning. They take decisions, they make the process that much more seamless, faster, more efficient, and more productive. And it is this combination which has really created this new changed environment that you and I are now got so used to it that we are part of it, and it's become part of our life ecosystem. If I have to sum it up, I think what was said earlier, it's the information technology, the OT, the operational technology, the consumer technology, and with the influx of cyber physical systems that has really been the benchmark or the hallmark as far as I 4.0 is concerned. And if I have to say, it is I 4.0 is data driven through hyper-connected systems. And it is these hyper-connected systems which can be susceptible to direct disruption by criminals, activists, motivated state actors, and other unintentional failures. And I think no better time than to understand, with all the noise that we see on our visual media, but a lot of sense which comes out in a lot of printed media articles. When we have seen the banning of these 59 apps of the Chinese, this whole noise about 5G technology. What is this Belt Road Initiative of China, where it was looking at a digital connect across the world? What was this digital domination which he's talking about? What is this thing which he talks about, an integrated electronic and the digital environment that he's talking about? All these issues have been so much played in the last at least about 3 weeks in the media, that I'm sure all of us sitting here have now become conscious how this data-driven activity, which is hinged on the communication network, how susceptible it is for disruption and for actually using it as an axe to be able to achieve gains by state actors, by non-state actors. And that's why all this noise about how your data has been going. However, if you recollect, we don't have to go too far back. I think this Cambridge Analytica came under this banner when Trump got elected. And you talked about this whole story of the methodology by which your capabilities and your identity was captured. And this gentleman, if you all recollect, all of you would have read about it, and your students of IT would have seen that he said that if I had seen about 150 odd Facebook likes, dislikes of yours, I would be able to tell you anything about yourself. I see about 200 plus and I'll tell you the gender you are. And I see over 300, I'll tell you more about you than your parents or you know about yourself. And that is what was utilized in this whole campaign by sending in these messages on Facebook, Instagram, the social media sites, whatever you were used to, and they were tailor-made for you. And that was where the AI and machine learning and the capacity of analytics came in, which ensured that your mind and perception was changed of how you looked at things. You did not like Hillary, but so you desisted from voting, but you didn't like Trump. In the bargain, Trump won. And you're now again seeing this whole thing getting played out now with the coming elections down there. So we have seen how this whole dimension of data is so important, and that is why this recent legislation of ours in 2019 on the Data Privacy Act, what can be shared, what can't be shared, should data reside in India, not reside in India. So I think we are a very data-rich country, but the problem in our country, and this is where all you youngsters would face a challenge, is that it's not structured for you to be able to use it, and the accessibility is controlled. And I think that is the focus of the present government, to ensure that this data, which is structured or can be given unstructured, is made available to people who want to try and use their expertise and their talent in looking at getting and operating in AI, refining better accuracies, looking at getting better applications, ensuring greater amount of security and safety. I think that's where the focus has been. And I think I see this in Santosh would be the best man to tell us. MeitY is at the forefront of it on this. And we've got the Niti Aayog, which is also steering this. And I just yesterday attended a report which came out on artificial intelligence and its impact on our economy and how they talked about it. So there are forums where they are looking at all these areas. So there is space for you. China structured and managed to get this whole act together, and that is why it is far ahead and is actually therefore the biggest state threat as far as you and I are concerned. So when I look at this whole story, how do I see? I think cyber experts worldwide are now concerned about the implications of this, because in a digitally connected industry, you can exploit the resources and data. And with this integration that has happened, there are newer challenges because it creates risk and an attack surface that did not exist before. So when I look at cyber warfare and cyber security issues related from a military or from a defense viewpoint, I mean, these are areas which are of extreme concern to us. And when I talk about it here, just to give you an example, if our transportation system, which is controlled on these railway lines, is related to the mobilization of my forces, and if that can be interdicted by a state actor and disrupt the whole pattern, you will create a shortage of resources at the point of decision at the time that you desire. And that is where the challenge lies in the military dimension. But when you look at it here itself, where does it lie? Today, what is this? Today, when you're looking at product designing coming in as a separate science, as a separate discipline which people are studying, why is it? Because today you are looking at wanting to be ahead of the curve to be able to meet the consumer's demand and capture that market and be first on the plate to be able to exploit it. This will only ensure, and so what would competition do? It would ensure that the means by which you are achieving it is corrupted at a time. So you get a time, I would say a time delay, which gives him the added advantage. So that is why the criticality and the importance of a thing like this. I think so. This is where I see how the risk comes up in an I4. Now, when I look at the other issue is what I think the Vice Chancellor correctly said. I think one of the greatest things that happened here is the COVID-19 has been, I think, readdressing mankind itself to its, I would say, fundamental issues. I mean, whether it's climate, other. But I think more importantly for all of us in the world of technology and change is that we have seen that the transformation and the precipitation of change has got accentuated to a very fast speed. Why do I say this? If you see in the last decade, there has been a disenchantment with globalization and there has been a rise of economic nationalism and protectionism. And there has been a now, which is more obvious, there's a drop in the global demand and the governments are protecting their own by implementing policies to boost local manufacturing. I mean, vocal for local. What does it do? It reduces imports. So all this will require a certain amount of greater concentration on your capacities in all walks of life, especially the manufacturing sectors, to be able to produce yourself. And so what you would find is corresponding to this is the shortage of labor at times or the high cost of labor in the developed countries, which is leading towards automation and robotics. And this enhances scalability. So in this COVID time where the change is happening largely, where there is a concentration on local development, where there are automation and digitization that is coming in, robotics making the place for scalability, you will find that change in the space by the time you get into the workspace after finishing your education and your expertise will be extremely, extremely fast paced. What you see today in your first year may not be the way it would be on the fourth or the fifth year when you're going out. So what it requires is agility of mind and adaptability to develop skills and to be able to have the capacity to hone a skill or upskill yourself in a particular area for looking for opportunities. When I look at India, and I said, seeing this trend internationally, the middle income economies are the ones who are now looking at reason of scalability and cost. And they will also become an issue for countries like India. So when I look at India, what do I see? I think today in India, majority of the industry is somewhere at I 2.0, transiting to different stages of 3.0. But this period of ambivalence where the change happened rather slowly is likely to get now a kind of a boost in its manner of transiting to a 3+ getting towards I 4.0. So you'll find this great spectrum of activity in India where you would find industry from 2 to 4.0 or closer to 4.0 within the next 3 to 5 years. I mean, we are at various stages, but we will find the speeding up of this activity happening much, much faster. And if that happens, I think the greatest advantage I look at it for us is that we have first-hand knowledge to see how this transition has been impacted. And I think for the people who are in the technology space, the experience of what is happening in South Korea and what is happening in Germany are great examples to see how should this transition take place, because you will be part of the workforce at the managerial, at the executive level to see this transition which is happening in our industry. So you need to pick up knowledge and see how that is happening. And when I look at it, somebody was mentioning to me, I think, which is the country which was the least affected by COVID-19 as far as jobs and economy was concerned? It was South Korea, because South Korea was so dependent on robotics and automation and digitization that even if workforce moved out, you really did not require boots on ground, as we say in the army lingo, to really continue your work. You could still do it from an connected environment, which is what you and I are doing today. So I think these are the places where you need to pick up these rules. And though you will find changes in industry will always happen, as they say, by the C-suite team, which is the CEO, the CFOs and all. But let me tell you, the role and task for the CTO and the cybersecurity expert is not only going to increase, you are actually going to become the anchor who will decide how this whole change transits to ensure your safety, security, and your capability to retain the edge in the market. So what I would like to state is that along with this whole area, I'm told when you look at cybersecurity, please look at it from that simplistic triangle which you talked about. You talked about confidentiality, integrity, and availability. If you look at all these three things, I think you will be on the right lines as far as the capacity is concerned to be able to see what is required. In your finances, if you see financial businesses are looking at confidentiality and integrity. But when you're looking at an electric, and again, this noise that happened in the space about the SCADAs, why did this supervisory control and distribution area networks came under the scanner? The companies, they were told out of the 26 states which had put out their the RFPs for getting the digitization of the SCADA done to save and to make sure that the energy sector is more well regulated and activated. You suddenly found that out of them, about 11 of them had Chinese companies who'd come in. And if Chinese company came and controlled your energy, the movement and your capacity at the critical time would be extremely debatable. Today in the summer, if the light goes off, which we've got so used to, and Indore is actually, as I say, one of the leading 10 smart cities of the country. You've actually in Swachh Bharat, you've got so used to electricity, you go and you don't get electricity, God, you feel like shooting somebody. You lose your digital link today because the Wi-Fi is not working. You want to sort of hold everybody at ransom. What I would have done when I was a youngster, when we have 14 hours power cut, you would go to the power station literally with a gun in your hand to tell them, guys, please get me on, I'm dead. My kids can't go to sleep, I can't go to sleep. And now you've reached a stage that if you have an internet connectivity breakdown because of Wi-Fi, you start screaming at those providers. Yeah. So just look at how the transition is happening. And now if it is controlled by somebody outside and he controls this whole inflow and outflow of data, timing, your critical energy requirements, and the electricity, you will see the reason why that is being done, because you want it to be reliable, you want it to be safe in your control. And this is, as I said, the role and task where a lot of things will happen. Now, if I have to look at it, what do I see these challenges? When I look at these challenges, I also see that the cybersecurity challenges are relevant and specific to industries. If you look at, I mean, in any sector, I think privacy and data security cannot be marginalized. That will be common to all. But I think when you look at finance, I think regulatory compliances, managing third-party risks will gain greater credence. So that's how you will look at when you're designing your whole stuff. In energy, I think when you're looking in the energy, other than the other things, skills, awareness, privacy, and data security, I think information sharing, integrity of components used in the energy system will be very critical. So that is where you have to see. Alignment of cybersecurity activities in the energy sector will have to be in alignment with national cybersecurity policy. If you're part of a power company, I'm sorry, you can't do things which you thought are more efficient. It has to be in sync and in tandem with what the country has laid down in this particular critical area. In healthcare, I think the biggest example that you can give is all these guys who get these pacemakers. Yeah, if I start fidgeting with your pacemaker, I can knock off anybody here who's got a pacemaker put in, because it's an electronic device. It's open to signal. If I put in a malware out there, I have the capacity to be able to do it. And that's why this whole story of linking up and taking and thefts of health records, which happened in the last two major heats that happened in the in the developed part of the world, which they say the European and the American continent. So I think we'll have to be very careful. What do you want to look at? And then similarly, I think when you come to transportation, as I said, the integrity of components will gain. So wherever and whichever industry you are in this I 4.0 era, you'll have to look at specifics which would gain greater importance vis-a-vis the other as far as the activity is concerned. And that's how you should have to look at opportunities and tailoring and addressing this issue. So when I look at the factories today, if I see, I said that, so just to give an example, smart factories and supply chains which are now connected through the IoT, we use IP addresses and connect and communicate within and outside their production line. Now, what happens in their case? Well, if there are unauthorized hackers, they will ensure that they can disrupt your capability. And today you've got the same standard 4 or 5 ways, which all of you know, whether it's malware intrusion. But so if there is malware intrusion, then please don't look at the pedantic methodologies that exist. You start looking at the advanced systems of cybersecurity, of common internet file systems, integrity monitoring systems. And I think activities like these will come in. Modification to firmware. any firmware that you utilize today, what is fake and what is correct, what has a 0-day vulnerability, which has a malware implanted, what has something which is there, which can be initiated at the right time. All these attacks that have happened in the last 2-3 years have shown that there was an existing weakness in the system which got exploited by the smart aleck outside to make a problem for you. So you'll have to look at these, and you need to scrutinize anything firmware that comes in. And I think this requires, again, user-centric restriction, access system, disabling USBs, unauthorized network access. All this will come into play. This other story today, which is of worrying, it needs to be looked at very seriously, is bring your own device here, BYOD. And somebody was telling me, it says bring your own demon in a workspace, because when you come and connect, and if you do not have the necessary security systems in place, I'm sorry, this would be the man in the middle attack, a malware implanted and transited through. And just to give you an example, which happened so beautifully, when I'm told in Syria, with the help of North Korean, they were looking about 7-8 years back, they wanted to sort of replicate and look at nuclear and areas of destructive capability to be created against Israel and the rest of the world there, Syria and its fight. It was identified by the int agencies in Israel. So what did they do? An upgraded system of their air defense communication network that came in, that actually they implanted a malware, so that when they decided the timing of the attack, that malware was so activated that this whole automated gun system, which picked up the target, handed it over to another radar, handed it over to the firing line, handed it over for being fired and engaged, actually just showed open skies. Whereas the aircraft flew in, knocked this area out where this whole factory was coming up, and went out. So the whole air defense system which was there got corrupted. So this is where I think the worry for BIODs and the firmware, real-time encryption, I think has to be looked at. I think where areas which we really look at is that cyber espionage is a story which is very, very real and is very, very concerned. So if this be so, I think what do we need to do? I'll take another 5 minutes to quickly wrap this up, but just to put it, that adopting a top-down approach for better cybersecurity measures. I think this is the greatest need today in I 4.0. So what do you need is using standard approaches to cybersecurity is not enough in a network with so many devices. So a multi-layered approach should be adopted that includes implementation of reference architecture for digital transformation of the industry that you're working in. So I think begin with strategic planning. That happens at the top level, where decisions regarding policy, strategy, guidelines, and directives for the network and the enterprise would be laid. Then you move ahead with a data security level, where top level defines the focus, thereafter shifts into the data processing layer. How does this data security manage? Once you have looked at it, the point that you must retain is that there has to be flexibility in what you do, because the changes which are happening are so rapid and dynamic, both in the policy directive as well as the technology space. And thereafter, you come to the stage of designing the technology infrastructure. And when you design this technology infrastructure, you then look at the functionality and the security needs in mind, then the risks of third-party vulnerabilities. And after you've looked at all these issues, identified from where you want to pick up what, from the vendors, the safety, security, and that's why the 5G network for the mobile network operators today, we want to have the authenticity and the trust factor built in when we are buying it. And then you look at the focus on network design. So I think a structured approach to cybersecurity in I 4.0 will ensure better handling of data breach and security concerns. Why do I say this? Because majority of the times, issues and systems come into play, cybersecurity becomes a plug-in as an add-on. When you do it add-on, it can never ever be as fail-safe as it would be if it is intrinsic to the initial growth and design of the infrastructure and the process that has been put in place. So if I have to look at critically and sum up what are the few areas of cybersecurity, please look at gaps in business processes. That's an area. The communication networks or modules in the systems is the second area. And the last thing is the cyber physical systems, where vulnerabilities and software comes. A quick word about business process gaps is that we have to be able to carry out 360-degree review. We are required to be able to identify and look with a critical eye where degradation, destruction, and disruption of the infrastructure can happen, because these are areas we don't concentrate. This has to be happening at the stages when you're making your processes or evaluating your processes or upgrading your processes. Once identified, please mitigate them. And those which cannot be mitigated, but you know are going to remain as threats or susceptibilities or vulnerabilities, please ensure that it goes into the cyber crisis management plans. Thereafter, please have your SOPs designed and drills for speedy rectification, have redundancies in your systems so that it can work correctly. You see how the whole story started off in Stuxnet. I mean, that is the story which everybody knows, how the Iran centrifuges were utilized to disable their nuclear processes. When we had the oil and pipe guideline during the Cold War era, the pipelines which were there to connect the Central Asian republics to the Russian mainland were all suddenly linked through these huge pipelines which were artificially connected. So the valves and these were tampered with by intrusion of a malware made to malfunction, and you suddenly had breaks in this oil system. So the pipes broke, required that much time to be able to repair and rejuvenate the system. So all these will have to be looked at wherever you are. I think the job for this is that today we should not shy away from the space as the executives in the I 4.0 to get experts to carry out penetration testing of your system and processes. And if I give you an example, the Pentagon in the US carries out these intrusion and penetration tests every year, year on year, to find out the kind of susceptibilities or shortfalls in their cyber systems and their communication networks that exist. And till date, every year, the numbers might have fallen, but there's always a threat. When we did once in India, that was in 2014. Now, of course, it's not shared publicly when it is done. I mean, we found everybody from the military operation to the NSA to the PMO, everybody's offices were intruded upon. So I think the simplest thing which all you and I do is to make sure when we get our routers, change the default setting of that mobile, that number, because you become a bot and you suddenly find when your computer goes slow. You guys know it better than me, but I know it, that I see it happening so regularly that you need it to be cleaned up again because you can't handle it. So what are the opportunities? I think designing cybersecurity frameworks will become an area. Compliance with laid down standards will be an issue. Privacy issues, if you're part of a global supply chain, the getting in sync with the nuances of the GDPR rules will become very urgent, because there would be liabilities which would come into play, and tools and products will have to get full visibility in your system. So you'll have to be there. And I think over a period of time, you'll find cyber insurance will be an area where it'll come in. Arbitration will come in. These are areas which will grow in this area of cyber, where cyber specialists would be required to be able to make a difference. And if you come to the CPS area, the cyber physical system, I think I was just reading today's paper. I think, what did they talk about? He says that as AI learns and grows, and realism and complexity of what they create will really overpower you. And what he talks about, deep fakes. I mean, if they can make Mona Lisa's painting speak, which is there in the Louvre, you suddenly find you take anybody who's a high dignitary, you use his facial pictures and his photograph, use it with the AI tool to make statements and make other issues. When we had the issue related to when the CAA problem happened in our country and the riots started, what happened? There was a person from the ISI who fudged himself and made himself on that Twitter account as a princess from one of the Middle Eastern countries, used that name to start sending out messages, and people start believing it, till it was found that it was a major who had impersonated because of the shortfalls that exist on the Twitter platform, where you can change your data. So, I mean, these are the areas where it's coming in. He talked about something called wetware, where the amalgamation of artificial intelligence and machine learning is going to create auto generation of content and be able to target victims. When you look at 5G, if it is faster in connecting, it's faster in stealing. If there's a man in the middle, he can take that data out equally fast. So your processes will have to change the minute you transit to that. You look at cloud smart, or are you cloud dumb? With cloud interface, a lot of safety happened when, if you recollect the DDoS attack which happened on Estonia, today it's the leader in cybersecurity, and it's part of the global committees to leading various nuances related to that. It moved everything into the cloud. Now, if you moved everything into the cloud today, it can't be hit in the physical space. But excuse me, are you cloud dumb or are you cloud smart? Now, there are issues related to that. So this is the area where you'll all have to look at it when we look at the CPSs. And I think what comes out really is that in any data part systems, the software code will always be critical. So the hardware, software, its testing of that equipment, they all will gain. And this new term which I was reading, which I didn't know much about, I just read something called explainable AI, artificial intelligence. I mean, you give everything to that AI engine to give you an answer, but are you sure that the process by which he gave you that answer was correct? So this querying system which is coming up in explainable AI are areas where you all need to look at. And if I have to end, I would say cloud assisted manufacturing, that's an area, mobile technologies, augmented reality in these areas. So, I mean, the space is phenomenal for jobs and specializations today. And you just do it because this is part of our lifestyle today. It can't go away. And I think I would say when it comes to communication networks, whether it's 5G technology, whether it's satellite communication, the LEO constellations, whether it's stratospheric balloons, which Google and or this Alphabet is planning to put up in India for those 100 defined digital Wi-Fi hotspots, which they talked about by some Loom company, which was talked about. Well, I mean, these are all areas where you would come in. So seamless, secure communications and this whole network of I 4.0 is an area. So the development and testing of the next generation communication infrastructure firmware is the area where will be a great amount of space and necessary requirement. We sent a team of ours to see how the British initially looked at the Huawei 5G hardware and how they tested it for giving it safety certification. But thank God for it. I hope in due course of time, we will issue those orders and ban them as far as coming into this country is concerned so that we are more secure and much better off. In the end, I would just like to conclude by wishing everybody an exciting 2 hours of discussion that we have ahead of us. You've got great speakers coming up who are domain experts, and it'll be a pleasure to listen in as well. For me, as I said, when I come to these forums, I go back more educated than being able to educate people. I think my job remains in the level of making awareness, be able to talk about how important it is to get into this area. And I think the last thing which we keep fighting for is, I think, technological sovereignty in this area of cyber, chips, semiconductor industry, this whole story of the IPRs related to this. I want more and more youngsters should get into the space of these IETFs, and that you start today from college. My son-in-law is also into the same thing. He's into media space there in Australia, and he does all this, and they've been part of it. And the first time when I heard about it, I was taken aback. I didn't know so much about it. Now, over a period of time, I have got educated with friends like Santosh, who keep me updated to know what is to be done and what needs to be seen, how change is happening. And in the end, may I just say, be agile, be open-ended, the young people, because you will not have consistent 24/7 jobs. The dynamics are changing so rapidly. You have to have the adaptability to be able to shift from one to the other, be able to vector one on a higher scale, bring the other thing lower, depending on the demands of the time, industry, place, opportunity that you get. And I think I'm really thrilled that though I'm on the other side of the 50s, but I would say it's always good to see that we will be part of this, I would say, ecosystem on this land, to see the changes that are happening. And those changes that took 30, 40 years earlier are now going to happen in bounds of 2 to 5 years. So for people like us also, if we want to be educated, we want to be connected to the next generation, we have no other option to these millennials and the Z, what is it? The next, the millennials, and now it's called the Z generation that has come in. I think we'll have to keep ourselves abreast of what is happening. But I think space, and where I think problem is, and where government really needs to look at, and that's what we advise, you need to get more and more young domain experts to come in and advise you on how the policy framework has to be done. Don't leave it to dowdies who are now past their prime to be able to tell you what to do. They can tell you and interlink the complete web that is there and make it easier to understand. But you require domain experts to tell you where the nitty-gritty of the policy thing should happen. And I see that changing. I see it happening. And delighted. Thank you very much once again for inviting me. I hope I've been able to contribute, if nothing else, make awareness a little better in the people who are listening in. For those, I'm told you got connected from abroad and the academia and the senior faculty. I'm sorry, this might be pedantic for you all, but I'm sure you know much more than this. But delighted to be here, good to be part of this forum. And I wish the university great success, and the people in the audience, the young generation, the very best for ahead. Stay safe and be the flag bearers for a changing, digitized, connected world. And that is where your goodness and your expertise will ensure standards are set as we require it based on Indian requirement, and not that we copy and follow those which are laid by EU or America or tomorrow by China. So please rise to the occasion, be the flag bearers of setting the standards for our country. God bless you all. Thank you very much. Jai Hind. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your knowledge with us. I request Sahani sir to please check the question answer tab on the screen for answering the related questions from participants if they like to answer.
Let me just see that.
Now, I want to thank chief guest of the event, Dr. Arun Kumar Sahani, for blessing us with his presence and sharing his knowledge with us. I want to thank Vice Chancellor Dr. Upinder Dhar, convener of SAJAG 2020, Dr. Anand Rajabad, director of all institutes, all heads of departments, faculties, guests, and participants for the inaugural.
Would you like me to take these answers? I just saw 2-3 of them. They're one related, of course, to which
Yes,
is
sir. Sure, you can answer.
okay. I see one by Dr. Pradeep Desai. I think, does the threat of cybersecurity increase due to Chinese companies hacking data from banks recently? I think today, I think the UN in its last report had brought out that one of the 3 serious challenges that the world faces is migration, water, and cyber security, safety and security on cyber. So I think, and let me tell you, this period that the developed world was busy in fighting Iraq and Afghanistan and all this area after the end of the Cold War, gave China the time to go ahead by leaps and bounds. They studied the first Iraq war to identify that how do you use an asymmetric and a disruptive medium to gain strength over an opposition or an enemy who's far superior. And I think this is the learning that they've done. Today, if you see, it used to be the Russian hackers who are again very experienced, but I think the Chinese hackers today take the cake. The recent closing down of the Houston consulate of theirs speaks for itself. That burning of paper itself is the fact. And I think in Americans, when they make a claim that they do it. And if you see that APT1, which came out about cyber espionage, with the Chinese had been doing into the 20 core industries of theirs when it came out first time, was only released after the first 10 years that they had followed them and seen them, which are the industries that they were working at. So it was used well, but the point is Chinese are 100% the leading masters in this game. And with the system of a connected world, you digitize bots, you take over servers, and then you utilize it. So I think that's going on. Hacking of banks recently, of course, is also related to a certain amount of vulnerability that exists in the software. So this is where I said cybersecurity is a plug-on system that came in. Why did this not happen to the Kotak Bank? Because Kotak Bank security scenes are by far one of the best that came in. If today you and I have a PIN code of 4 numbers, it always had a 6-number PIN code. Why did it happen? So I think people who made sure that they addressed the issue right from the inception and not as a plug-in system were more resilient to it. And I think that is the issue. The North Korean, 2 of their, who have been actually the lackeys for Chinese to be able to hit out at most places, are also linked and are deployed in the bordering towns which are next to China, Northwest China. And there's data available today, easily available of where the threats emanate from. Though the good part is that because it is anonymous, because of the capacity to be able to delink and cut off the chain, when you do your forensic chain right down, or you do an examination change of the tracing, somewhere down the line, they introduce a cut so that you can't take it, but you can with the signature, with the methodology of people that they talk. That's how a lot of these people, white hackers, white cybersecurity experts, when they share, they tell you this is by this so-and-so group, this is by so-and-so group, this is X group, XY group. So I think there is a footprint that people leave which can be seen. I thought Dr. Pradeep Desai, you mentioned at least effect of corona and survey due to use of, but what is yeah, actually, I think, I think this is a misnomer. I keep looking at it. I'm sorry, Dr. Pradeep, you would be knowing much more, but I would put it like this, that allowing technology and new technical, I would say, innovations to come into your workspace does not reduce space for you. It reduces the menial jobs that you had. So the social system. So as I think today, India, as it's transiting and growing economically, and if we've brought in the last about 10 years or the last decade, nearly about 300 to 400 million people away from the poverty line, though we still have a large number that is there. And COVID-19 showed us, and we thank the visual media, which actually made us so sick of our own country by flashing these images of migrants who were disallowed and not allowed to get the people. There are people who would lose jobs, but I think for every, this is in the white collared area, the blue collared area, I think anything that comes in for robotics, the manufacturing, maintaining the connectivity issues, the security area will send up new regulatory regimes to be able to carry out their functioning and linking them in systems. We create new jobs for it. So I don't think we should look at it. However, we should be very careful. Are we mature enough as a society to absorb it? And I see this in a large amount of social issues that get played out. And that's where I think the subtlety of the regulator and the policymaker will have to come in, that how much, where. But I think robotics makes it and removes you from the mundane space. And with education levels rising today in the country, why shouldn't these people who were just doing the menial jobs now take on some semi-literate or semi-intelligent jobs, which they can? And to tell you the truth, when I did the trials, when I was a young colonel, this is about 3 decades back, we used these autonomous gun systems came in for trial. And everybody said, yeah, our soldiers will not be able to handle it. They were told within a matter of about 10 days, when these teams from outside came and taught them, these guys knew how to handle it. He understood what an error code came up there, and he had understood how to look at that book to tell you kya kharab hua hai. So I think we will find our people are resilient enough to come in and take on those lower level jobs that will come in related to this. So I don't think we should worry, but yeah, it should be controlled. Robotics like the UAVs that has been coming will have to be looked at it. I think somebody else asked, especially India being still backward in cyber. Yeah, I think it's a tragedy. I think one of the greatest strengths of India in the cyber domain is that our capability of thinking, I would say multitasking, our capacity to think at different levels. That's why you find the testing and the proving of applications, the data, the algorithm is all based by Indians here. Because we have this great mental capacity as Asians to be able to do this. When I say Asians, South Asians, and primarily the Indians, because they're educated and are in that space. So we have some great strength that comes in. And I think that's the reason why you find that we have literally become the workhorse for the digital world. Everybody wants to come and put up his lab here, who did not have a lab here. And today also, there are over 300 odd people who are looking at, look at what Jio has done here, what Mukesh Ambani is transiting. Yeah, more and more people coming in. So there is something in our capacity, and that is our greater strength. Then the capacity to do hard work, but our capacity to be able to do non-lateral but non-linear thinking to be able to make. So the modeling that we do, the proving that we do is far superior to anybody else. And confidently, India and China increase cyber threats. Of course, I think there is no doubt about it that we have scenarios painted that China will use, I mean, his whole philosophy of Sun Tzu and everything is the art of war is to defeat the enemy without meeting him in battle. And these disruptive technologies gives him that capability. But we also are fortunate that his energy dependence gives us also a chance to keep him on a nose in his jugular veins. But you're right, you will see cyber. And at times, I think we really don't need to be fully networked outside. Manufacturing sectors, yes. Certain sectors, yes, will have to be. But I think the armed forces, this a gap between certain amount of network centricity to a network enabled environment is what we should be working at. And that will help us. Somebody else asked something about fights, but what I would just, I mean, ask thoughts and share. Yeah, so I categorically agree with what was said by one Mr. Srivastav that about standards. I think 100%. I think our problem is you and I have to be on the decision-making bodies in the world of the new world order that is going to come out post-COVID. I mean, it was changing. When you look at the Indo-Pacific, when you look at the economic center of gravity being today in the Asia Pacific, in the Southeast Asian belt, I mean, this what we talk about the Indo-Pacific or the South China Sea, the Indian Ocean, this whole area where the center of gravity is, where the growth here before COVID was about 4 point something, it used to be about 1.8 to 2 in the health or what is called the developed world. So the banners have changed, the global order is shifting. And that is why the younger people have to come in, so that you have the knowledge when the standards are being set, that we are part of the standard settings. We do not have to copy. Today, if there is a railway line that has to be made here, we have Indian standards, you have Asian standards, you have Chinese standards. How will you have an European link from Afghanistan to India to Bangladesh? Because the standards are changing. So please set the standards right. So I think your absolutely point is, we have to come into that space. And this is happening because the transition is in the process of happening. And hopefully we should be able to get in and make the difference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So
delighted to speak to everyone. Thank you very much. And I'll now listen.
Thank you, sir, for blessing with your presence and sharing your knowledge with us. I want to thank Vice Chancellor Dr. Upinder Dhar, convener of SAJAG-2020, Dr. Anand Rajabad, Director of all institutes, all head of departments, faculties, guests, and participants for the inaugural ceremony of SAJAG-2020. Now we move further for the plenary session of SAJAG-2020. In this plenary session, we have moderator as Dr. Brinda Tokekar, Professor and Head, Department of Information Technology, Institute of Engineering and Technology, Devi Ahilya Vishwavidyalaya, Indore. I request technical team to start the video presentation to introduce the moderator of the session, Dr. Brinda Tokekar.
Dr. Brinda Tokekar is a professor and head the Department of Information Technology in the Institute of Engineering and Technology, Devi Ahilya Vishwavidyalaya, Indore. She received her BE Honours in Electrical and Electronics Engineering from Birla Institute of Technology and Science, Plani. Master of Engineering in Computer Science Engineering from SGSITS, Indore. She has done her PhD in Computer Engineering from Devi Ahilya University, Indore. Dr. Brinda Tokekar has served as Dean Faculty of Engineering for year 2008 to 10. She was also the member of Executive Council of University in the year 2009 to 10. She was appointed the coordinator of the university's campus wide the network program and played the key role in the network architecture design and commissioning of the campus network. She is currently heading the university's IT center. She has 33 years of academic and teaching experience in graduate and postgraduate engineering programs. Her area of research are wireless and ad hoc networks, network security, and software engineering. She is guiding PhD scholars in her area of interest. She has published more than 50 research papers in international reputed journals and conferences. She has one patent awarded to her credit. She has also reviewed the research papers of international journals in allied areas. She has also served as a subject expert in several interview panels of the various universities and various governmental accreditation agencies.
I welcome Dr. Brinda Tokekar ma'am in the plenary session of SAJAG 2020. In this plenary session, we have two speakers. Our first speaker is Mr. Santosh Khadsare, Scientist E, Cert in Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. He will speak on the topic Digital Forensics, Opportunities and Challenges. Our second speaker is Mr. Bhargav Badla, Information Security Manager at Mercedes-Benz Research and Development, India. I request participants to write their questions in question answer tab if they want to ask any question to our speaker just after the session. I now request technical team to start video presentation to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Santosh Khadsare.
Santosh Khadsare is an information security professional who is specialized in digital forensic and is presently heading a digital forensic lab at New Delhi, India. He is a BE in Electronics and Telecommunication and possesses the additional qualifications such as CHFI, CEH, RHCSA, Advanced Cyber Forensic Course, Cyber Crime Investigator, and Access Data Certified Professional. He has also been trained at Karen Malin University, Pittsburgh, USA on incident response and digital forensic. He has 19 plus years of rich experience in the field of information security, digital forensic, cyber audit, cyber laws, and incident response. He has been a speaker in the various international conferences such as International Conference on Cyber Law, Cybercrime, Cybersecurity, IFIP, HackOn, Hacker Days, National Cyber Defense Summit, etc. He has also authored the various articles on information security and digital forensics in the national and international publications. He also won the Community Star Award at NullCon International Cybersecurity Conference 2017. Shri Kharsare is currently working as a scientist E and additional director in CERT in Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology since February 2019. He is also a specialist in the digital forensic related areas and deliver a talk at variety of places.
I welcome Mr. Santosh Khatsare. As we are lacking shortage of time, so I request Mr. Khatsare to limit the session for 40 minutes in place of 50 minutes. So I request Mr. Santosh Khatsare to start the session.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll be sharing my screen. I have a presentation to make.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
Can it be seen? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Firstly, thanks for welcoming me here for SAJAG 2020. Firstly, I would like to make a mention that Janul Sani has been my mentor and guide over my journey over the 2 decades in this particular field. So I thank him for the words, whatever he has said. Today, what I'm going to speak is about on digital forensic challenges and opportunities. Let me also start with a disclaimer that whatever I speak is from my experience over the last 2 decades. It is from open source and my thoughts about the future in this digital forensics field. I will also be sharing few case studies which will be generic in nature, which are spread over my career of these 2 decades. And nothing specific of the present work being done is being shared during this talk. So to start with, let's start with the case study because digital forensic being a very niche field, people actually fail to understand what digital forensics is. So let me start with the case study. As I said, we had received one Panasonic mobile phone which was sent to a lab. And after doing some extraction, no such content which was desired by the investigating officer were found in the phone. As all of us knows that the executable files of the mobiles are the APK files. And after going through those particular, you can say executable files, we found that there were 2 calculator applications. All of us use calculator on mobiles. And we found that there were 2 calculator applications installed in that particular mobile. So it looked somewhat like this. The 2 apps were installed. So of course, one was the original app and other was the secret vault application, which was supposed to contain some multimedia files in that particular phone. Now we were not, as we could not get into that vault. So what we did is we went for physical extraction. Now physical extraction is a process in mobile forensics in which what we do is we are able to get the deleted files from the mobiles. And once we are able to get the deleted files from the mobiles, we were able to find you can say a configuration file of the calculator app which was installed on that particular mobile. So as you see on the screen, it looks something like this. And within that, you can say you can say a jargon. We were able to trace the particular code. Now this has been highlighted on the screen. It says that MPass is equal to 192231. So what we did is we took this particular password and we entered in that second calculator app, which was supposed to be a malicious app. And as we entered that particular, you can say a code or a key pass in that particular app, see what happened. It opened the secret vault and we were able to access the various, you can say multimedia files which contain of pictures, videos and other contents, which were of very important nature for the investigating officer This is how the case was, resolved. Now the agenda for today's talk is I'll be discussing something about digital forensics, some case studies, challenges, and some opportunities. And due to paucity of time, as I've been given only 40 minutes, I'll try to make few things very clear so that people or the students who are actually listening to me get attracted towards this niche field. If you see here, the report was released 2 days back. It is a report by Celebrite on digital intelligence industry benchmark, and it was specifically towards the law enforcement. Now, you can say the crux of that report is that main evidence source, which is coming to the labs, is smartphones. Like 90% of the source is the smartphones. Secondly, the variety of digital sources are increasing. Now with the coming of wearables and smart home technology, and IoT, lot of devices which are coming for, you can say, analysis to the labs are, you can say, of the high-tech nature. The most important thing which I would like to tell here, that most of the devices coming to the lab, as it is said in the report and on ground also, I would like to, second this report, the 6 out of 10, like 60% of the device which reach the lab are in locked condition. And extracting data from the encrypted apps is the second biggest challenge for the forensic analyst in the forensic laboratory. Okay, let's go ahead. One more thing is there. If you see here, the challenges which are faced by the labs, other than that of our log phones, most is, as brought out in my previous slide, the encrypted apps pose a bigger challenge for the investigators. Second is the amount of data that need extraction. Now you must have seen nowadays you have such high capacity storage media devices, even the mobile phones which are now available to the capacity of 1 TB storage space is available in the mobile. Then the volume, the damaged devices is also a big issue, right? And creating an extraction report with the relevant data means the process of creating a report after data extraction is done. It also takes a lot of time and it's a big challenge. So these are the few findings of the report which has been released, say a few days back. It's available on in open source. Let me also tell you that internet never deletes nor it forgets. Now, why I want to tell you this, because this is a backdrop of the job which I do. Even if you create a single document on your, say, any digital device, whether a laptop, computer, or mobile, or any other device, I can assure you that the strains or the document is available in approximate 30 odd places in that device. I'll just mention few of the, you can say, places. Like suppose you delete that particular original document, it might be in the recycle bin. Even if you delete the recycle bin, it may be in the Slack space, it may be in the HyperSys file, it may be in the prefetch file, it may be found out from journaling. So there are so many places which can trace down that this particular document existed on that particular device. So if you have created something, it is very difficult to actually delete it, even if you think so it is deleted from the device. Now, once we come to forensics, the forensic science principle is the same here. That when there is a contact between two items, there will be exchange. So if there is a, you can say, murder by a knife, the knife is a, you can say, evidence. So if you create a document, or if you send a text message or a spam message or some kind of digital, you can say, artifact, that is evidence in the digital domain. Now, some facts which I would like to tell you here is, like cyber forensic report, because that is the actual outcome of a lab, what analysis we do in our lab. It should not only be accurate, but credible and must stand legal scrutiny. Why am I stressing on this point is because most of the people who prepare reports, either they are prepared in such a technical manner that the legal system doesn't understand the reports which are being produced in the courts. So that becomes a big hurdle in actually, you can say, standing by a report when you go to the court. One more thing which I want to tell you here for the students who want to take this particular, you can say, field as a career. Cyber forensic cases are techno-legal cases. By this, what I mean to say is, it's not only technology what you should know when you're doing the analysis of cases. You should also know the legality part. So you should know the IT Act, for example, IT Act, the law of the land. You should know the international laws. You should know what are the laws existing of the different countries. So this is very much important when you actually want to enter this particular field. challenges lead to the future. I'll be discussing few challenges. But one more thing which I want to tell you here is that most of the people think that when a case, even the investigating officers, when they give us the cases, they feel that the case will be resolved within no time. And they think that we are means equivalent to Sherlock Holmes, you know. But let me tell you one thing here, with the, you can say, change of technology and the change of devices which are nowadays coming to the lab. As I said, ki maximum coming are smart devices or phones in this matter at present. The failure rate is actually more than the success rate. I'll keep it at that much only. So there's much to be done in this field to actually, you know, go ahead. Secondly, what I want to tell you is the requirement of a law enforcement agency. Now, a requirement of every different law enforcement agency is totally different. Some people just want extracted data from us. Some people want analysis to be carried out on the particular devices which are come. So it depends on the LEA what the lab actually gives in the report. Next thing is with, as I said, with the mobile devices coming in, IoT coming in, it has become very difficult to maintain the integrity of the evidence. Now because of the technological changes like solid state devices coming in, if you have read about that, you'll understand it's a new technology in itself. So maintaining integrity, like people say ki in a normal storage media, you take hash and produce it in the court as a symbol of integrity. But in the devices which are coming nowadays, it has become very difficult because of the change in technology. This is a topic in itself, so I'll not be touching it. Next is digital forensics required every time? The investigating officer has to actually ask this question to himself, because now it's seen that every case has a digital, you can say, device attached to it, even if it's a normal murder case as such. So it's the IO, that is the investigating officer, who has to actually decide. Now, to keep it more interesting, let me tell you a few more case studies. Like, for example, one of the cases which we received, you know, when we saw it, when we actually imaged it, and when we tried to see the content in the hex editor, we saw that there were no content. It was totally blank. After due deliberation, we found out that it had a BitLocker encryption. Now, how did we find out that it had a BitLocker encryption means activated in that particular device? Because if you have studied file signatures actually identified the type of files. Similarly, from a file signature, we were able to identify that it's a BitLocker encryption which has been used. And from that, what we did is we cloned that particular device. Now, those who are into forensics understand the difference between imaging and cloning. So we cloned that device. And if you know, you can say how that application works or how BitLocker works. Actually, by default, it stores that particular key in a C drive in some particular folder. We were able to extract that, and in this way, we were able to bypass this particular type of encryption. One more very interesting case is, it's a global case which happened, that there was a murder case which happened in one of the European countries, and a female was murdered. And people or the investigators were able to solve this case by the heat map of that particular device. When that lady was murdered and her device was thrown out of the, you can say, the car, moving car, by the movement of that particular device falling from the car, by the motion, a heat map was developed. And that heat map and the timeline analysis was used to solve the case and find out who the culprit was, because of the CCTVs on the roads which were placed. So it's a very quite interesting field when you do different types of cases. Latest which cases which are happening with the new technology, you understand that a lot of apps are available. Now, if you go to GitHub or if you go to dark web, you find that a lot of source codes are available. Such kind, even if you remember a few years back, WhatsApp source code was also available somewhere at GitHub or in the dark web. People are nowadays using that code to have their own WhatsApp. Now, if you see, there are different kinds of WhatsApp downloads which are available. You have WhatsApp FM, you have WhatsApp Gold, you have some business, different types of WhatsApp, which has nothing to do with the original WhatsApp which is installed. The problem here is that these WhatsApps are being installed in hidden spaces of mobiles. Now you have special hidden spaces in mobile where you can install you can say some secretive apps or your e-commerce app, you want to hide it from someone. And the best tools which are available nowadays in the market are not able to extract those particular contents from the hidden portion. Okay. Now, coming on to digital forensics, I've been interacting with a lot of academia, students, industry, and you'll be surprised that maximum people don't know how to define digital forensics. When asked a question, okay, what is digital forensics? Can you please explain? You know, they are not able to answer this question. To make a layman answer, digital forensics is nothing but to prepare a digital evidence to be produced in the court. Is it as simple as it is? But people still are not able to explain how this means, what is the definition of digital forensics. Now, let me tell you, these are the different processes which are involved in digital forensics. I'm not going to detail, again, due to paucity of time, but there are various processes which are involved, and every process is equally important. Identification, preservation, seizure, packing. Now, this is done by the, you can say, the first responder, or the, you can say in this case, the policeman who's actually on the ground. So, but let me tell you, as a forensic lab in charge and dealing with forensics for last almost 2 decades, the main problem here is during the seizure. Seizure is not being done properly because of varied reasons. Maybe training is not being carried out properly, because of the awareness not being carried out properly, or because of the new technologies that are being evolved. The seizure is not being done properly, and that's where the cases fail in the court. So apart from the analysis and the interpretation or report preparation, seizure is a very important aspect which should be kept in mind. Now, if you see this digital forensics, if scientific definition, if you want, it was actually coined in 2001. It is actually use of scientifically derived and proved methods for what? For purpose of facilitating and furthering the reconstruction of events. So you actually creating a sequence of events in the digital domain, right? So that is what you're actually doing, and that is what digital forensics is. Issues, digital evidence is very volatile, extremely fragile, and easily tempered. All of us knows these particular issues with digital devices and digital evidences. One more thing is that when people or students interact, they say they want to come into this field. And some people also claim that they're digital forensic professionals or expert in this field. What you see is on the screen, you'll see that there are so many disciplines in digital forensics. You have storage media forensics, memory forensics, cloud, automotive, satellite, drones, mobiles, SCADA, IoT, GPS, network. So you can master or specialize in all these disciplines is not humanly possible, I'll put it that way. You will know how to do these things, but to master, or you can say become an expert in all this, it's very difficult thing. So what I would recommend here for the people who want to get into this field, you pick up 2-3 of these particular disciplines and try to actually gain expertise in that. So that will be the right approach to actually come into this field. Now there are various skills required. Now, like Sani sir brought out a lot of skills. Cyber security is one of the main skill which is required if you want to come into digital forensics. Knowledge of forensic tools. If you see the academia or especially the academia and the students cannot afford a lot of commercial forensic tools due to the expensive nature of the tool. So they usually work around the open source tools which are available on the internet. But when actually they come on the job, they are supposed to work with the, you can say, commercial forensic tools in addition to the open source tool. So there sometimes they fail. So this is one of the skill which is required. You should know the various tools either in open source and in the, you can say, commercial tools. You should have analytical skills. Technical aptitude, as I've already said in the start, is very much required. Cyber laws is very must. Communication skills is when you speak, convey in the court, and or when you make a report. This is very much required. And one thing which I always say to most of the students who come, you should have passion and patience. Without these two particular, you can say, important ingredients, you cannot actually succeed in this particular field. There are few cardinal rules. I think the organizer can just tell me when to stop or when I have last 10 minutes so that you can hurry up as such. Some cardinal rules of digital forensics, that you never mishandle the evidence. For that, you make images, right? You work on the image. Original evidence is actually preserved carefully. Every process is documented, right? And maintaining integrity of the evidence, which I mentioned in the start, is very, very important. Use of licensed tools is very important, although the course doesn't say that only licensed tools should be used. But let me tell you one thing here, that if you're into this particular field, the evidence which you have retrieved should also be retrieved by some other tools or some other examiner. So then it actually can be said. So what we do is whenever we retrieve any evidence, we make sure that two similar or we can say two different tools, not similar, two different tools are able to retrieve that same evidence from the, you can say, from the device as such. Various types of crimes, I'll not stress much on this. There are a lot of crimes, but mostly cases which comes are related to financial fraud or espionage. So these are the cases which come to the labs. Now the lab receives some inputs on what the forensic cases are being done. Usually, there are internal, external surprise audits which are carried out at various, you can say, establishments. And the outcome of that is some may ask for forensic analysis. Similarly, when incident response takes place, some breach has happened. So the outcome of that is that devices which are involved in that particular breach come for forensic analysis. There are some reports which come from external agencies or some data leak in the, you can say, dark web or deep web. Then forensic analysis is actually required or they come to us. Few documents which are very much important for forensics are the chain of custody form, because this is a legal document. Most of you who will teach you forensics will tell you that this is the mother of all documents, which is actually referred by the court. Then is a brief of the case. Why I say the brief of the case? Because if the case comes to you, you should know about what you have to do with that particular case. You should have the brief, what you are looking into it. And following the brief of the case, there should be questions asked by the investigating officer, what he wants the analyst to do. Like if he wants me to find out what if some document ever existed or there's some compromise or malware infection or some other thing, the question should be posed to the investigator. These are very important for investigations or analysis to proceed. Chain of custody is a mother document, as I said. It actually tells you who, what, where, and when. Whatever devices were seized from that accused, who all it has gone through, what time, and what is the make, model. And it contains all the history of that particular, you can say, devices which are seized by the law enforcement agency. Yeah. Coming to imaging and cloning. I'll not discuss here today, but these are the processes which is the basic or first steps which we do before going ahead while carrying out forensic analysis. This is required because we don't work on the original image as such. Hashing or integrity, maintaining integrity is very much important, and it has to be mentioned in the report also. One thing I would like to mention is nowadays the court asks for particular, they ask for hashing other than MD5 hash. So most of the tools which are there in the commercial tools specifically, they do give you a provision of going for SHA1 or SHA2 hashing. It is recommended that you mention both the hashes in the report so that it is on the safer side when you go as expert witness to the court. Write blockers, everyone knows write blocker by the word itself, it means it blocks writing. So it is a device which is used by between the software, forensic software, and the, you can say, accused device, so that nothing from the computer is written to that particular device, right? Only reading operation takes place. Now this is also, these write blockers also come in software form and also as an integrated workstations also. So it depends on type of, you can say, infrastructure you have in your lab. Now, one thing I started when I said a case study about BitLocker encryption and file signature. If you see in this slide, there's something called as PNG written. And if you see exactly opposite to it, they are digit 504E47. So this is the signature. 504E47 is the file signature for a PNG file. From this digits in the hex editor, I can identify this is a PNG file. Similarly, you can identify if it's a document, if it's a exe, if it's a, now most of the cases which come, malware which are there, it is a document, it's actually exe file renamed as doc. So if you go in a hex editor and see that file, you will see the exe file signature, you will be able to identify. Whereas if you see it normally, it will be a, you can say, a document file which is in front of you. So these are very essential things when you actually carry out forensics. Now, coming on to some of the part like free space analysis. When you actually analyze a case, you cannot fix a time. Many of the IO say if we require this case in X 2 days, it's not possible to give a timeline. Because, if you go and analyzing that thousands and thousands of, you can say, artifacts which are there in the device, like in this case, you say the 68,000 different artifacts are there. and there are some artifacts which you have to code, decode, and actually come to some conclusion. So in short, we carry out two types of analysis, static and dynamic. It's always on the screen. It's on the screen. So this is what we do in static and dynamic analysis. Whenever there is, say, malware infections or something, we go for dynamic analysis. And whenever there's no malware infections, there we usually prefer static analysis. Sometimes both are involved. Coming on to mobiles as such. See, popular mobile phones, you have Android-based, iOS-based. Let me tell you the present state. First, in India also, we had a lot of Android phones and iOS phones were less. But recent study 2 days back, which I just read, that 40% of the phones which are now in the market or which people are using are iOS-based phones. And even those who are coming for forensics also iOS-based phones. Means 40% phones are iOS-based. So iOS market is catching up. Although in India, Androids are being used at a much higher scale. This is just a, you can say, a diagrammatic view. Now let me tell you, when mobile phones come for extraction as such, we carry out different types of extraction. I'll not go into again detail of this, but there are some advanced techniques also which are involved. Now why am I stating this? Because in our country, we still lack this advanced techniques. If you want to do a, you can say, chip-off technology, very one or two places it's available, and means in some, most of the critical labs, this particular technology is not available. Even if you have to go for ISP or JTAG, JTAG is still have, most of the labs are nowadays having a JTAG technology, but ISP chip-off, it's a very difficult to find, and even if it's there, it's in very you can say rare places as such. In short, so that we don't waste time, this is a slide of the difference of different types of extraction which we do. Like logical extraction, you get this. Physical extraction, in addition to logical, you get the hidden files. If we do, file system extraction, you get in addition hidden files. If when we go for physical extraction, that you get in addition of the hidden files, you get the deleted contents also. Now, this is the major difference between the different extraction method we use in mobiles. But the problems which we are facing, like challenges, is physical tampering, Chinese model phones, maintaining integrity when the, you can say, videos or images are passed over social media platforms such as WhatsApp, Telegram. There is a lot of data stripping which takes place, and to add to that, everything is in the cloud. So that is a big challenge again for extraction of data in the cloud. Also is a challenge. Now see on the screen, this is a type of device which comes for analysis. Now you can imagine how do we extract this data from this kind of devices. Now if the memory chip is intact, we can still extract by, as I said, by JTAG. But if it's totally damaged, like seen on the first image, then we have to go for a technique called as chip-off. That's the only where we remove the chip and we actually do the raw data analysis as such. This is just a means you can the photo of how JTAGing and chip-off goes. To keep it in short, JTAG is basically, it's a joint test action group. Now, if you see, if you have a chip, it has some test ports or test pins. From the test pins, we are able to extract the raw data and then it is reconstructed. It's a non-destructive process, means you don't damage the device. Similarly, in ISP also, it's a non-destructive process because you read directly from the eMMC and eMCP memory. But when we come to chip-off, it's a destructive process because we actually have to remove the chip and then do the raw data extraction. Okay, now one big challenge which the labs are facing nowadays is the anti-forensic techniques used. A lot of people are using encryption, steganography. They are wiping the data before sending to the lab. People are destroying it, overwriting data and metadata, and obfuscation is always there. So various anti-forensic techniques are used. But let me tell you, in such cases, maybe the retrieval rate may be low, but still you can actually pinpoint that anti-forensic techniques were used, and that also is a, you can say, disobedience of law, and the person can be penalized for this particular anti-forensic techniques being used. Solid state devices, topic in itself, but just a diagram I have put here. It's a technology in itself. In normal hard disk, you have a read-write head, you have platters, but in solid state device, you have memory chips and or logic has been used. It's been stored in different form. The technology, the microcontroller itself is on the hard disk. So the technology is different. It's a topic in itself. So, but only I want to tell you that maintaining integrity in SSD becomes the issue, whereas in the case of HDDs, integrity never had a problem as such. Coming on to more challenges for forensics, IoT devices are coming in a big way. Where it is located, regulations, limited memory of IoT device. So the data is overwritten. I think I'm getting this for summing it up, but I have few slides. So I think I have 10 minutes, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir. Carry on.
Yeah, already I have 40 minutes is too short of a time for me.
Yeah, please carry on.
Okay, 10 minutes I'll finish. So like cloud forensics, also the issue is with the network, means where is the evidence? It's in the network, in the server, or in the endpoint user. So you have to look at various places when you're carrying out, forensics as such. Now, one major thing which I have to tell you about the forensic report, when a report is produced in the court, it is in, these are few basic criteria. The report should be classified. It should be from a notified lab. Ministry of Electronics and IT under Section 79 Alpha has been notifying labs. 7 labs have been notified across the country, and more labs are in line. Right? Should be, the court usually asks, are the forensic tool mentioned which have been used? Then limited copies are printed. You should ensure that as a head of the lab. Then it should be accompanied by a 65B certificate nowadays, which is asked in the court. And every page should be signed, numbered, and stamped. So these are the basic ones, a crux or key points of a forensic report when you see or when you make it and when you want to produce in the report. Writing a forensic report again is a subject in itself. So you can speak for hours and hours how to write a report. But these are the key points. If you keep it in mind, it will be helpful to you. Now, one more thing I want to tell you, there's a misnomer that cyber forensic report means they say if you give a cyber forensic report, someone will be punished. But let me tell you, cyber forensic report is only a statement of fact. It only assesses the investigations. The investigating officer who's doing the investigation, cyber forensic report is just one part of his investigation. In this, you cannot put man behind the machine. You can tell the modus operandi, how it happened, but you cannot put who did it. That is a different part of investigation. So putting man behind the machine is not a part of cyber forensic analysis. And your most important thing, your report may or may not be considered by the court. It has happened many times to me. The court has said, whatever you have said, maybe we don't agree, or they said, we want a second opinion on it. We'll send it to some other, you can say, analyst. So it has happened. So you should keep in mind, and you should be professionally connected with your report, not, you can say, sensitive, and you should not be touched if any of these things happen. Other challenges I mentioned here, all of us understand these are the challenges of forensic: vaulting, volume, variety, velocity, volatility. These are all issues which are there. We'll not waste more time. You see, this is from the report which I read 2 days back. I've just mentioned the report name, also source. You have mobiles which 1 TB memory space. Let me tell you, a mobile of 256 GB which came to me, a report preparation itself took 3 days. So much of data was there in that. And data, when you say if it's a 256 GB mobile, it doesn't mean only 256 GB data is retrieved. Other than that, again, there's carving, there's extracting data from the Slack, there's some data from somewhere else, deleted data. So the data is much more than the capacity of the device which comes for analysis to the, you can say, the lab. Now, if you see the data types, why take times for analysis? They are, if you see, mostly text messages, videos, images, everything has to be looked in. So if the questionnaire is right, if the IO asks right question, the analysis, time decreases as such. This is the bottlenecks. Bottleneck challenges, which I was saying, bottleneck is there's so much of data, capacity, problem of plenty is there, problem of capacity is there. So processing and reviewing is the issue. That's what also is in various reports by various agencies, which is there. Now, if you see, this is just a report ki last year, every report or reviewing of the content of took 37 hours. In 2020, it's taking 43 hours. So unless and until we don't increase the processing power or we don't solve the problem of plenty, this is going to increase every year. Some challenges just going fast. There are some classical problems which I just mentioned: processing, reviewing, and little time and lot of data. The main issue, which is for the academia to address, is the skilled manpower, lack of skilled manpower in this field. Now, let me tell you here, everyone speaks of cyber security. Cyber security is an umbrella. If you want to succeed in the cyber domain, you have to narrow your focus. So, and within that, forensics is a very niche field. So there's a lot of shortage of manpower in law enforcement agencies, in FSLs, in judiciaries. Second problem challenge is the commercial tools, because the cost and the training is so high. The academia cannot have forensic lab, full-fledged forensic lab to train the students who are coming out. So this also is a very big issue. This has to be addressed some fun in terms of internships, or you can say first, I remember when we did our engineering last century, we had some sandwich pattern or something where we did internship for 6 months or 3 months somewhere while doing a final year. Other are cyber laws. The big issue cyber forensic analysts face is cyber laws, because privacy is going to be a big issue, legal jurisdiction, because the data is in the cloud, changing technology, SSD, IoT, whatever I have mentioned. Let me tell you here, friends, whatever I mentioned in one block, it will take at least me 2 hours to explain that one block for you. So I am just pen down something which is the issue. If I speak IoT, it's big in itself. If I speak SCADA, if I speak of drone forensic AI, it's in itself, it's a very big issue. One issue which is there is the backlogs in all labs. Every lab in the country, globally, in India, the backlogs, I can say in my labs, the backlog is around 3 to 4 months. In most of the labs, the backlog is 1 year, 2 years also. And global average of backlogs, even internationally, even in the US, is around 3 months in every forensic lab. So you can imagine the load, and which is going to increase in the near future also. Just running through for students, what you require, even if you are not a BTech or MTech, you can still enter this field. Even if you are diploma IT, some desirable thing is you should do forensic courses, and some internship is very much important for having a hands-on on this particular, you can say, cases as such. In a normal lab, these are the various job profiles which are available. Like a first responder is a different criteria, means qualifications require different. A lab assistant, different qualifications. Quality manager, technical manager is a different criteria, different qualification. The forensic analyst or the expert witness is a different. So you see, everyone has a scope here. It's not that only those who are, MTechs and BTechs who are not even techs. Even if you are BCA, they can still enter this field. Again, career building is I have spoken to your university only a month back, and I have spoken on the career development. So this we can have a different talk as such. As I said, in the law enforcement agencies, you have the first responder, investigating officer. In academia, the main issue, before going, I want to stress here, is the academia, because we need people to teach forensics in the academia. People are coming out with the syllabuses, with course module, but there's no people, or there are very less people who are actually can teach academia, teach the students. So academia is a gray area, I feel, and a lot of stress has to be given there when actually the syllabus is. One thing I want to tell, especially the universities, which I always tell, please don't design the course as per, you can say, this means you design the course as per the job profile. Design the course for a first responder, design a course for the technical manager, design a course material for the, you can say, a lab assistant. This is the way ahead. Nowadays, what is happening is there's a course for forensics, which touch everything, but it doesn't make anyone good at, he means nothing for it. But if you make him a first responder, he is screwed up in everything, knowing other things, that is the secondary thing. So the job profile, while the modules or the courses should be designed at the, you can say, universities and colleges. Hiring agencies are plenty. Let me tell you, students come to me, where is the job in forensic? It's a niche field. But nowadays, you go to law enforcement agencies, defense forces, private, FSL, freelancing, academia, these are a lot of scope is there. Yes, due to COVID, there are some restrictions there, but still, in fact, forensics and cyber is going to go in a big way even after COVID, right? Work from home, these things are coming up. Bring your own device. Lastly, internship and mentorship is required. You need a mentor in this field. It's not like cyber security where you read something and you go and you are able to give awareness. You require a mentor who can guide you in forensics field. There are so many disciplines and so many niche disciplines. It's a costly field. You don't get experiences. No one will give you to work on a live case unless and until you are part of that laboratory. So there are many issues involved. So have a mentor. Lastly, it's just on the screen, read, write, be seen. And I finished. Sorry for taking 5 minutes extra. That's all I had to share in the form of presentation. But I've tried my best to tell you whatever I could in that given time to me. Yes, I just hand over back to the organizer.
Thank you, sir. I request sir to please check the question in question answer tab for answering questions from the participant side.
Okay. Now the first question is from Yash Gautam. Sir, suppose if there is a hacker how made a temporary Google account, and after using the account wrong purpose, means how means if you can say identity theft has taken place. What is trying to say? I mean, if someone has used the account, created an account and used it, it's very much possible to actually track, because he also creates from some you can say machine. When I started my talk, I said ki if you create an imprint, there are so many places where the imprint is left. Even if I create your account from my machine, my IP address will be linked, my MAC address will be linked. Even if I use a VPN, the endpoint will be linked. If I create if I create on Google, the Google maintains the metadata from where the user means where the account is created. But yes, here there's an issue. There are a lot of agencies which are involved. Ministry of Electronics of IT or CERT India actually handles such kind of issues. If there's some, even the government site is there like cybercrime.gov.in, you can go and report there. So they pass on to the agencies, because if you go to Google or Facebook, they might not tell you. It is an agency like CERT India is there, or Ministry Cyber Law Division is there. If they approach, they give all the information. I hope I've answered the question. The second is there any way to capture data package when redirecting from carding? See, network forensic itself is a big field. Like if you say data carding, or you can say anything related to data flowing, I'll put it in that way, flow. So every establishment has a control, or I'll put it in a different way. Every internet data flowing from, say, from India, it goes through some central point from where the data is distributed, right? Even in banks, where your card information is going, that also the bank has access to the data. It is possible. Now, is there? I think that's the only two questions. If there are any questions, what I'll do is I'll share my details with the organizer. You can drop independent questions to me. I know there's shortage of time. And Dr. Dubey, thank you for calling me here and giving me opportunity to speak. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing valuable knowledge with all of us. It was truly a tremendous session. Moving on to the next, we have with us Mr. Bhargav Badla, Information Security Manager at Mercedes-Benz Research and Development India. He will speak on the topic ERP security in smart industries. I now request technical team to run video presentation to introduce our speaker, Mr. Bhargav Badla.
Shri Bhargav Badala is certified CISSP, CISA, ISO 27001 lead implementer, professional with over 14 years of experience in information security areas, especially in SAP or IT security audits, SAP security implementation and project management. Mr. Bhargav has completed his Bachelor of Engineering in Information Science from NMIT Visvesvaraya Technological University. He has worked in various countries like Australia, Brazil, China, Germany and USA. Apart from India, Shri Bhargav has worked in various domains like automotive, healthcare, manufacturing and ITEs through his stints with Dell Services, Wipro Technologies, Johnson & Johnson, Mercedes-Benz Research and Development India. He speaks German, Hindi, Telugu and Kannada apart from English. In addition, Shri Bhargav is a regular speaker at various international cybersecurity conferences.
I welcome Mr. Bhargav Badla in SAJAG 2020 and request him to start the session.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. So I would like to first thank Shri Anand Rajawatji and Dr. Upender Darji from SBVV University. And I would really like to thank Lieutenant General Arun Kumar Sahni ji and Shri Santosh Khatsare ji. And last not the least, I would like to thank Dr. Dubey ji, who has been in touch with me for several months. So I would like to welcome each of you here, be it students, professionals, and faculty members, across the globe. What I would be speaking today would be mainly on the ERP security in the smart industries. I'm just going to share my screen here and let me know if it is visible.
Yes, it's visible.
Just a second. All right. So what I would like to do is I just want to know how much time I have for this presentation so that I can.
About 40 minutes.
40 minutes. Right. Okay. Fine. I assume that most of you are aware already about the ERP. Basically it stands for Enterprise Resource Planning Softwares. So there are multiple softwares, but before that, I would like to just give you a couple of things, like the disclaimer. I am talking and sharing this with my personal experience over last 15 years, and it doesn't have anything in specific with Mercedes-Benz R&D, and I would like to make that official. And I'll be sharing a lot of thoughts on various areas in the ERP security and in the Industry 4.0, and how, what are the challenges and what are the opportunities that we have in the coming few minutes. Okay, this is the agenda, and as Mr. Saniji actually very well described what Industry 4.0 is and how it has evolved, and we can't have a clear cut demarcations as to when it started, when what started, but to be giving you in an like an overview. Earlier days it was like more of mechanizations and steam powered factories, and then we got the assembly lines, and then automation and the computers involved in the industries, and then later we have the cyber physical systems, or you call it as IoT devices and networks and such things. Okay, and we have a lot of benefits with Industry 4.0 compared to the older generations. Like we have a lot of automation. First thing, there's a lot of automation. There's complete integration, the integration of big data, the internet, the IoT devices, the end user, the supply chain, name it, you have it. And the customization every industry can take, make is like humongous, and everything has a lot of benefits, and that's the reason we are going towards it. The flexibility which is present in Industry 4.0 is like, we can in fact even predict as to when our goods will be reaching the factory. We can schedule as to when the next shipment has to leave to the end users or to the customers. We can talk to the suppliers, we can manage the customers, we can intimate all the employees at once using these ERP softwares. And one thing is, in 21st century there's a lot of change which has happened, and if you see, I'm focusing only on the ERP part, and you can see the production has improved a lot. Be it any industry, be it automobile industry, be it healthcare, any of the manufacturing industries, the production has improved. And unlike the olden days, people didn't know how much to produce, what to produce. Now we exactly know what should be the sales, what by looking at the customer demand, we can make the products. There is something called as on-demand production. There is a customer relationship management, the software which directly relates and identifies the needs of the customers. By looking at that, the production can be made. So what happens in this is there won't be enough, there won't be backlog of products available and people not buying it. The sales team works in tandem with the inventory team. The purchasing department works with, financials. I mean, everything can be integrated in one. That is nothing but the ERP in short, and there are multiple players. And now what has happened in this current generation or in 21st century is we have added more complexity to it. That is, we have added cloud to it. We have added a lot of mobile devices to it. We have added multiple private clouds. With the GDPR coming, there are a lot of complications. It's like a big spaghetti of interchangeable, or the technologies are so interconnected. Okay, this is about the current scenario, and I would like to showcase you the how Industry 4.0 is running, and I would like to show a small video for that. So these are the robots which are doing welding. They perform weldings at 1,000 welds per minute, which is humanly impossible to do. And a question to all of you, probably you can notice how many humans are there in this factory. And each of these robots, or the arms you can see, right? They cost at least 60,000 euros per handle or per arm. You can notice the precision in which they do and the pace at which they perform the activities. There is something called smart factories, and there is something called as lights out factory. So wherein actually nobody needs lights to work. Humans need lights, but robots don't. So humans, if we want to do welding, we need the glasses, but robots don't. So this is an assembly line. This was done in the second, Industry 2.0, the assembly line was created. And again, we need humans for even more sophisticated activities. So we don't rule out, So there is jobs for humans, which is like more technical, much more interesting things than the monotonous work. I think there was one question. So the monotonous things can be given to the robots. So all the heavy lifting is done by the robots. So we don't have to break our backs. So this is something called as marriage in the automotive industry, that the body meets the chassis. And again, the final inspection is done by individuals like us, the quality checks and other things. Okay, so that was about what Industry 4.0 is, and how ERP is implemented in entire industry, and starting from recruitment till the employee leaves, starting from procuring of the raw material like steel or aluminum to the point where the car is delivered to the end customer. So everything is through an enterprise resource planning software. And there are various softwares. I would like to go for that later. but I'll just focus on what is the current scenario. Current scenario, as again Dr. Sani, Mr. Sani said, right? So cyber attacks are the top 3 risks to the society, alongside the natural disasters and the extreme weather. I mean, we could never even imagine that such thing could happen here. Right? That's one of the major things. And if you see most of the left part of this, right, the diagram here on the left side is indicating of the SAP applications, which is a ERP solution. SAP is the primary or the biggest vendor of, biggest customer of ERP softwares, and Oracle and Microsoft are, coming late at different scenarios here. So what I would like to say is these are the top 5 countries which have implemented SAP applications and are exposed to the internet. And the moment any application or any software is exposed to the internet, there is a lot of hacks which is going to happen. And if you see, India is having almost 11% here on the SAP side, and Oracle majority is consumed by the US as a country, and they have a lot of enterprises running on the Oracle devices. All right, now what the Homeland Security in the US says is it warns businesses of Oracle and SAP ERP vulnerabilities. See, we have a lot of vulnerabilities, and I just want to say that a lot of ERP applications are under the cyber attack. You might be wondering, I mean, probably no, small solutions could be under ERP attack and not ERPs. Sorry, under the cyber attack and not the ERPs. But actually that is wrong, because every ERP solution is having a web interface to the end user. And once the end user has it, he could be a good person or a malicious user. And the moment a person with malicious intent and the wrong knowledge he has, if he can misuse it, then these kinds of hacks would happen. One of the recent things which happened in the month of June last month, there was this Maze ransomware attack on the LG Electronics, and they have stolen the source code worth 40 gigabytes. That is humongous data which has been stolen. And there are companies, I can't say companies, but countries who are focusing only on attacking and killing the backbone of the industries of democratic countries or, big organizations. And a lot of our people after our ban, right? I have seen so many stories that TikTok users are really crying because TikTok has been banned. And our Indian government has taken such a great step of banning these apps. By doing that, by having TikTok installed, it is spying continuously across whatever we are doing, on our mobile phones. If we have TikTok or any such apps installed, they are capturing every location data, your SMSs, your phone call, your contact details, almost everything is being captured. And the moment they are installed, right, they'll keep spying and they'll take every details and where it goes. I don't want to name it. And this is one more snippet, right? What is happening? 37% increase in cyber attacks in India in last quarter. That is the first quarter of 2020. So that is a huge thing, And what is happening right now for us? Why are we or common people involved here? We are the end users or of the ERP. I could say ERP or any software out there. We are the end users or the customers in one or the other way. One could be that we either directly buy things from them or we are indirectly selling our information. It could be our biometrics, it could be our bank details, it could be any of the confidential data we have on our devices, smart devices. Everything is going out there. And that is the reason we have to be aware of what we are installing, how we are treating each and every device. Now, what are the cybercrime targets? Most vulnerable states in India are mentioned here, starting from Maharashtra, Delhi, West Bengal, Gujarat, it goes on like that. And if you see the number of cities that are at risk, Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Kolkata, Pune, like that. Why it happens, why it is the cybercrime happens at these places. I know most of you, during the Corona time, you would have received a lot of information, right? That people are anxious of what's happening in the healthcare industry, what's happening for, the country as such, how many cases are there, and there is a lot of websites which are popping up daily. And whichever says COVID, right, we will be attracted towards it to see what is actually in it. And if we don't know what is the right website, if we don't know it is authentic or not, we shouldn't go and click on it, because the moment we click on it, there are a lot of things which are running in the background, which will get downloaded into your browser and which will start taking or capturing from your device. Now, most recently, phishing scams, the scamsters, I saw, by the way, because of COVID, I got a chance to watch this episode called Jamtara. Most of you probably would have heard, or some of you would have actually seen that. People really make a lot of money by duping others. And we get lured, right? Some get lured by the money, some get lured by, the award or whatever, the gifts they are going to get, like a car or, whatever, like a lottery and other things. And some are getting threatened that they have done some wrong things and they are duping them. So there are multiple ways of targeting people. And I would like to show one such thing, what is happening on a daily basis. It could be a state-sponsored one, like countries like North Korea, Russia, China are doing. These are the state-sponsored ones. And there are some, people who are normal people, but they are doing something really bad. All right. So I would like to share a screen with you. Just bear with me for a few seconds. And yeah, while it loads, I want to say something about the spams which happen. You keep getting calls from multiple banks, or you keep getting calls from a lot of people posing themselves as good Samaritans, right? So that is something, but I don't know why it's not opening up. Probably, yeah, I got it here. Okay, so if you guys see here, this is the live cyber threat map which is happening. This is the current thing. If you look at this on the top, it says 52,16,500, and it keeps going on and growing. These are the attacks which have happened till date today. And if you see on the top right, you will see the top targeted countries, and India is one of them. And it could be a malware, it could be a phishing attack, it could be an exploit, it could be anything. And we have noticed that a lot of things have happened in the past. And and this is like something which is ongoing, and this is very dangerous, and we have to be taking good care. Otherwise, our systems are at risk, people are at risk, our banking platforms are at risk. So this is what I would like to see. You can see the attack which started, or the source was in US, and it went to Central America, and there was one attack started from France, went to India. And
sorry, Bhargav, to interrupt you. We are unable to see the screen which you are sharing. We are seeing PPT only. So cybercrime target, most vulnerable states.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Just a second. Just hold on. Can you see it now?
Yes, no.
All right. Sorry for that inconvenience. So if you see here, it is the live cyber threat map which is happening, and around 52 lakh attacks have happened today already. And if you see here, these are the threats originating from US, going to US, from India to India, China to India, UK to other countries in Europe. These could be malwares, these could be phishing attacks, these could be exploits. And on the right hand side, you will see the top attacked countries or the top targeted countries. And the industries will be unbelievable, utilities industries, education industries, governments. Why education industry? There are a lot of research happening on the coronavirus vaccine, and people are, these country-sponsored, state-sponsored attackers, they want to steal the formula of the coronavirus vaccination. And this is like unbelievable. There are multiple types of malware attacks. And see, this is a very good website. You can take it, threatmap.checkpoint.com, and you can check it out later. All right. And let's move back. Now, I was talking about why these things are happening, right? The reason is there are a lot of lack of competent specialists. As the previous speaker also, Mr. Kansareji was mentioning that we, or in these colleges, we learn a lot about IT or cyber security in general, but not in specific. I can point one thing about here in Europe, mainly those people wherever I've worked, right, in Germany and all, those people are there who are specialists in one topic, and they've been working for 20 years in one single topic. So they know in and out of every single thing. So we lack competent specialists. I don't say we as we Indians only, this generation people. And the complexity is too much in the enterprise resource planning softwares. That is one of the major reasons. Then there is a lot of customized settings. Now, I just want to bring to your notice the browsers, whichever we are using, right? The web browsers, we use around 5 million lines of code. That is 50 lakh lines of code goes into it. And Microsoft Office has 40 plus million lines of code in it. It's written with so many lines of code. And the bare minimum ERP software from SAP has close to 400 million lines of code. That is a lot. And all these big large enterprises, every software they have, they'll have at least additional 20 lakh lines of code as the custom code to customize it to their needs. That is what it is. And the experts say there is one critical vulnerability in at least in 1,000 lines of code. So imagine how many vulnerabilities are there in those custom codes and in the software. Now, what do I mean by critical vulnerability? This particular critical vulnerability could put your system down, could create any backdoors. It could have any denial of service attacks. Basically, these are the critical vulnerabilities which can put the business, it can get interrupted. And there is another reason why it could happen is security tools are either not used, one, or if it is used, it is not optimally used. So they might have just for the namesake. Now these are the various attacks which are happening. Most of it is phishing, hacking, malware kind of attacks. There are a lot of internal thefts. There are disgruntled employees who can actually spoil things also. That's another thing. Now coming to the challenges. What are the challenges? First thing is people. Why I say people? Because people don't have, or the employees don't have right information, or they are not competent, or they are unaware, general unaware. I'm not aware, and I click on a link in my mobile and my money goes off. If somebody calls me asking for my OTP for a pay, phone pay or something, and I can't say that I'm unaware of it, and I just give them an OTP. So that is my foolishness. So I have to learn, and people are the main challenges. That is the reason I have mentioned that. Then process. We should have a good security process in place. We should enable a lot of things, and we have to inform all the stakeholders, not just me. If I have a vendor, I should empower him. I have to teach him, and I have to make him come on par with me on the security standards, because wherever there is a mismatch, that will be the weak link. And next comes the technology. Interoperability, because multiple devices are there. Multiple vendors have their own, custom codes and everything, the platforms, frameworks. Then the thing is, there won't be, the interoperability will be a big challenge here. And again, we have to identify a lot of misconfigurations and then correct them. Those are the challenges. Then there are multiple more things. And the causes of them, again, malware intrusions, then modifications to the firmware. If change management is not in place, or properly if it is not done, then there is a high chance that a firmware could be, not working as it is intended to. And there are a lot of BYOD concerns, because a lot of people are getting their own devices to the organizations, and then they are not properly patched. They don't have good antivirus installed in them, and then those could be another challenge or cause. Then there is a real-time encryption which is missing. That could be another thing. And people, one other thing is people having unlimited access or the rights or authorizations. Like an admin user or a root user having, if a person has a root user to a critical system, and even if he does any kind of a mistake, knowingly or unknowingly, I can put it that way, then there is a huge consequence to it. Even if you have everything, we can have the best data security, like best firewalls, best encryption, best antivirus software, everything. And if we have Dave, this is a common diagram which is used by most. So if we have such kind of human error, it's of no use. They say, right, there is people, process, and technology. You can have the best process in place, you can have best technology in place, but the weakest link of this is usually the people. So always we should be aware, we should train ourselves, we should be the best in whatever we are doing. Now I think I don't know how many people are there and how many are still awake, but I'll urge all of you to go to this website, menti.com, and just enter the code 144322. So let's spend a few minutes here. I want you to give the right answer there, and let's monitor how it goes. So I'll give a minute or two here. So I think things are loading. The code is 144322 and website is menti.com. So it's visible on this screen. One 144322. So I'll just spend a minute's time here on this, because let us, in a live session or an online session, we lack the human interaction, like what we usually have on the stages, right? We can't see a raise of hands like that, but this is a good way of knowing what you guys are doing. Okay, getting some data. So let's wait a minute. So you can I'm just checking. I think 1 minute is done. So let's analyze this. So we have this question: how many characters does your password contain? So some people less than 7 are 13 people have told that. A lot of people have greater than 11, greater than or equal to 11. That's good. Good to know responses are coming in. So we've received close to 50 odd responses here. Guys, make it fast so that we can move ahead to the next slide. All right. Good. I can come back to this later also, but let me go to the next slide. Okay. That's a good response, guys. I know some of you are still awake. All right. Now, by looking at this, there are, if your password has less than or equal to 7 characters, it takes 0.29 milliseconds to crack it. So that's, 0.29 milliseconds is like less than a blink, you can do it very quickly, very easily. And if your if your password has around 8 characters, it will take 5 hours. And the table is here. So you can actually look, if you have 11 characters in your password, there's a lot of time which goes in to, break your password and hack your machine. That's good. A lot of people have more than 11, which is good. But whoever has less than 7 or, less than 9 should actually consider changing your password. You know why this has to happen? People like us, we'll take good charge. We'll become like an admin. We could become admins, or we could have super access, and we should have proper password. If we don't have, right, even for our routers, for example, and then that's actually causing a lot of chaos, and we should not be blamed later. Now, our government has told that all of us have to wear masks during, whenever we step out of the house, we have to wear masks. And I just want to, give an analogy. If government says you have to wear a mask, and if you wear such kind of a mask, it is equivalent to you having an admin user with the password 12345. And you will notice how much of effect it will give by wearing this kind of a mask with a lot of pores by defending against the coronavirus. So guys, suggestion is we have to have a very good password hygiene. Let me just go back to see this. Yeah, that it's still coming up. All right. Now, when we did a employee assessment, right, at the workplace, a lot of people said we have 29%. I mean, 29% or 30% people said they have extremely secure passwords, which is good and very secure. This is what they assume. But when we see, right, the data, if your password has less number of characters, then it's very easy to break in. Now, a few suggestions are there. Whenever you are using any of the passwords, use a combination of letters, numbers, special characters, symbols. Update your password as regularly as possible, and create a unique password, and always implement two-factor authentication, especially for the banking apps. Two or multi-factor authentication is always desired, not just your password. It should follow that with an OTP or with some kind of a number design, at least multi-factor authentication. And then if possible, I recommend each of you to use utilize the password management software tools, to generate and to store. Like KeePass is one of the easiest things and freeware available out there. All right. Let's go above to the next opportunities. Now, we have talked about the challenges. We have seen the various scenarios. What is it that we are lacking is also, there. Now, what we actually need is SMEs, subject matter experts in each area of the ERP. It could be ERP or any other cybersecurity area. We need very good network engineers who know in and out. We need coders and secure coders. There is a lot of things coming up with the DevSecOps things, We need good cloud architects because, everything is in cloud. A lot of things are in cloud these days. We need good InfoSec auditors. Why InfoSec auditor comes at the later stage is to audit something, you need to know how it works. And you should have good amount of experience in each of these areas to go and assess the InfoSec requirements. You need to see where things are and then come up with a recommendation as to what is missing. We need good malware analysts. We need pen testers. We need InfoSec managers. We need incident handlers. So these are various areas where you youngsters can actually look at and then focus on each of these areas. There is a lot of opportunities out there for the right candidates. You might be thinking about, yeah, people are laying off, but not the right ones. And in fact, even during the Corona situation, a lot of industries are laying out people, but not in the cybersecurity space. In fact, in cybersecurity space, they are investing more and more because this is where they need to safeguard their crown jewels. And if you look at this, each of these figures are millions, dollars, million US dollars. And for example, let's take this. Application security was $2,434 million. That was the investment in 2017. And in 2019, it was $3,000 million. Now again, security services was 52,300 million investment in 2017, and 2019 it was 64,000. So basically, what I would like you to notice here is every year on year, there is a lot of budget which is pouring into each of these areas, and especially into basic. Cybersecurity is a broad umbrella, okay? And each of these areas, there are a lot of investments going on. That means if you choose any of these areas and learn and become the SMEs in any of these areas, you have a lot of opportunity out there. I would like to show another video. So what I wanted to mention here was, if you have noticed, observed in the video, there are multiple areas. There could be aerospace, there could be transport, there could be utilities, healthcare, manufacturing, automobiles, name an industry, and cybersecurity is there. And not like 90s or early 2000s, where cybersecurity was just a namesake thing. Now it is sitting in the boardroom. So cybersecurity, the top, the management actually takes every possible thing. They make all possible investments to ensure that their organizations are safe, because at this kind of a situation right now, and in this generation, every industry, every company, or every organization is growing. Like, there is no boundary as such. It is not just limited to one city, it's not limited to a country, it is a global thing. The moment you have an IP address, the moment you have a domain name or a number, that's it. You are global, and any person sitting in any part of the world can attack your system. And that's the reason cybersecurity has to be stressed, and especially in Industry 4.0, this age. And I would just give, few final thoughts, like, 50% of the security risks are related to having multiple security vendors. I mentioned, right? One organization can have multiple vendors, and each of them are getting their own products. And if there is an interoperability issue, then it causes, chaos. Every 1 hour, in one single hour, there are 66 cyber attacks happening just on UK borders, within the UK businesses. 90% of the OT organizations have been damaged by a cyber attack in the last 2 years. 95% of the CIO expect these cyber security threats to get worse. So these are the research data, from Gartner and other places. There is a lot which is happening, and if you just look at these areas, there is a lot to learn, there is a lot of opportunities, and we need experts in each of these. So I am done with this. Thank you all. And I would like to thank all the guests. And, this was a very online interaction is always, we don't see that kind of a response as in the real one, but we could actually see every person face to face. It's like one-on-one, that is what it is. And thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Dubeji. And it was really wonderful sharing the e-dias or the virtual dias with you all. Thank you. And I'm done. Probably I can look at some questions.
Thank you, sir. I request Bhatla sir to check the questions in question answer tab for answering questions from the participant side.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, ma'am. So first question is your views on Israel and India signing cybersecurity agreements to protect against COVID cyber attacks. So Mr. Siddharth, yes, one thing I want to say, Israel cybersecurity is really top notch, and the way they are using things are, they have the best tools, they have the best equipment, and the technology which they are using is great. And what I've learned from my previous conferences and interaction with other leaders is that government of India under the leadership of Modi, he has one of the first things he has done is he has created a team of 1,000 odd cyber warriors who are always looking into it. And then, the cyber security has been given a huge boost under his leadership. And what I want to say here is Israel is willing to help us. That's very good, grateful for the leadership between both the governments and both the countries, that is good. And we are learning a lot, and they are really enthused by the way our, generation, Indians actually are looking at and learning. They are willing to help, and really it's a great thing to learn from them as well. So that's one. The second thing is Mr. Rudra Sharma. I am create an online shopping application for Android and a website of same. I'm using Paytm Gateway and technology using that Android and PHP respectively. My question is how to prevent my project from cyber attack. Is there any legal informative site to know how to prevent our projects from cyber attack? So I am actually not at the right place to talk about the legal things. Probably, I don't know if anybody else would like to answer that because it's a legal term. But otherwise, you should, if you are already on, AWS, or if you are using the cloud platforms, as an infrastructure as a service and building your app on it, in that case, you should be rest assured. You should just look at the SLAs with AWS or Google Cloud or any other cloud. I don't know which cloud you are using, but by look our Microsoft Azure, and they will have a good secure feature. But legal, I am not the right person to answer. Sorry. How can someone hide their IP address? Okay, so actually you can't hide your IP address. You could have done it. I don't want to say this. It's both good and bad. There are ways, but you can't hide it for 100%. You can have VPNs, but your base IP address is still the same.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing the wonderful information with all of us. I now request moderator of the session, Dr. Vrinda Tokekar, for summing up the session.
Ma'am, please unmute your mic.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So, very good afternoon to all of you. Let me first congratulate Vaishnav Vidyapit Vishwavidyalaya for organizing such a wonderful event, SAJAG-2020. The theme chosen for SAJAG-2020 was opportunities and challenges for cybersecurity in the era of Industry 4.0. I think the theme is the need of the hour. Everybody will agree. And I am very much thankful to Vaishnav Vidyapit, particularly Dr. Upinder Dhar, Vice Chancellor, and Dr. Anand Rajawat and Jigyasu for giving me the opportunity to participate in such wonderful event. And through this event, I had chance to listen such experienced speakers, Lieutenant General Arun Kumar Sahani, with his keynote address. Actually, he made the base of the event. He actually very nicely gave the awareness about what are the various challenges in Industry 4.0, particularly security challenges. And he also spelled out various areas where there is a need of research and evolving and inventing newer innovative techniques. So traditional security techniques are not going to work. We have to look into from other point of view also. So again, I am very much thankful to Vaishnav Vidyapit for giving me the opportunity to listen this. In the plenary session, there were two speakers, and the theme chosen for these sessions were very relevant. So the first session was focused on the digital forensics, and Mr. Santosh Khadsare from CERTIN, very interesting way explained about digital forensics and what are the opportunities and the challenges in it. I will appreciate, because whatever explanation he gave, it was out of his own experience. So that could connect to the audience what I think. He explained various points through various case studies and examples. Okay, like he emphasized on how to prepare the cyber forensic report, and all of you, many of the audience, they were not aware of that cyber forensic report is a techno-legal document. So whenever this report is to be prepared, we have to see certain legalities also, and the report should be legal friendly, what I think, which I was not aware of. So I came to know its importance. Then he also explained about various, actually due to shortage of time, I could not note all the points, but whatever I remember, I will just spell out. He explained about various techniques of digital forensic analysis techniques in which are used in the digital forensics, and various documents required for analysis. Then also he explained about various data extraction methods. Basically, they are divided into static and dynamic methods. And he also talked about various challenges. So various challenges like in anti-forensic techniques, IoT challenges, cloud challenges, and writing forensic report itself is a big challenge. Very effectively it should be written, and this is again one expertise area which is what I think is a combination of technology and also the legal area. Then he also explained about various challenges, technological challenges due to introduction of new technologies like IoT and cloud, then cyber laws. Then he also mentioned about various delays introduced because of the slow process of making the forensic reports. And again, I congratulate Santosh ji for conducting this session very impressively. And I'm sure that all the audience, they are benefited. And they got certain guidance about what are the various areas where, depending on their interest, they can choose the areas in various roles as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, come to the next session. The next session was on ERP security in smart industries, and this session was conducted by Mr. Bhargav Badla. So he actually first emphasized on why there is a need of security in ERP. So very interestingly, through video and various examples, he explained the importance of security, addressing security in the ERP. Then he also talked about various challenges, and first biggest challenge is people. So all of you agree that there is a lack of awareness, shortage of information, and because of this, unknowingly, the security challenges, people, they like by sharing their OTP, password very easily to other people, there are security threats. Then through processes and technologies also, the security is, means there is a big threat to the security. Then he also talked about the causes like malware intrusion, modification to firmware, BYOD threats, and due to real-time encryption. These are the various causes, and there are many more. Then he also talked about password hygiene. Okay, so one should be very much careful about deciding the password. We actually first we create a password following all the standards but it's very difficult to change it regularly. So we should have this habit of changing the password regularly. So even if you are following the standard for creating password, but changing password is also must. Then there are various opportunities. Actually, these opportunities also are the guidelines for choosing a particular area by the students as their career. For example, SME, then network engineering, then security coding, in security coding, then cloud, uh, uh, and then info security auditor as an info security auditor, malware analyst, and there are many such areas where students can think of selecting. They can select their career in those areas. Bhargav also talked about 21st century architecture of Industry 4.0. And through video, he very interestingly explained about this architecture. So I think very briefly, I could summarize this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your kind words. With this, we came to the end of today's event. I would like to thank to our chief guest on today's event, Lieutenant General Arun Kumar Sahni, our plenary speakers, Mr. Santosh Khadsare and Mr. Bhargav Barla, for sharing their experience and knowledge with us. I would like to thank to Dr. Vrinda Tokekar ma'am for giving her valuable time for the event. I would like to thank to Vice Chancellor of Shri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, Dr. Upinder Dhar, Convener of SAJAG 2020, Dr. Anand Rajawat, Head of Department of Information Technology, Dr. Jigyasu Dubey, for their support. I thank to all the participants for attending the event patiently. I request all the participants to fill the feedback form with link available in chat box to receive their e-certificate. Special thanks to coordinator Mr. Gaurav Srivastav and all the committee members to make this event a grand success. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Dubey, I'm going to leave off because I've got to, my meeting starts in 5 minutes, so I'll just peel off. But thank you very much. Delighted and all the very best, and lovely to hear Santosh and to hear I think the Mercedes-Benz gave us the right, I would say, the look into where jobs are, where opportunities exist for the students. Thank you very much. Delighted. My regards to the faculty, to you, thank you, to the Vice Chancellor, and the very best to all the students of the college. I'm sure they'll keep the flag flying high. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
ma'am.
I would also like to leave. Thank you, Rupali,
Thank you,
Jigyasu, Anand, and congratulations for organizing such a wonderful event. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. All of you can leave, please. Thank you.